Hello, everyone. Sorry to interrupt you in between, but don't forget to subscribe to Epic Canon for more manga recaps. And if you're waiting for the next part, you can join as a Patreon member and request the next part. Thank you for listening.
Caitlyn grabbed it with a mocking sneer on her face and said, "Luna, we are in a hostile relationship. But you are still like this. Then when you and that woman are alone in this hotel open room, what do you think I will trust you? Didn't it happen?" Zhou Luo raised his hand to surrender and said, "Believe it or not, nothing really happened to Selena and I." Caitlyn snorted and her hands began to harden. Zhou Luo raised his brows, feeling bad at once, and shot his hands like lightning. Puff caught it, let go. He pressed his hands slightly, feeling a familiar and unfamiliar touch, and threatened Caitlyn's, "Now I am 1-2. And if you hurt my brother, I will squeeze them." Caitlyn frowned, feeling pain and inexplicable Zhao fever. She gritted her teeth, overcoming this painful feeling. Gritted her teeth and shouted, "Don't even think about it." "Then try." Zhou Luo also gritted his teeth and tried to restrain the constant force of his hands. But the pain caused his strength to be output intermittently. So his movements are a little strange, slowly. Caitlyn's brows wrinkled more and more, and Roar's sucking became irregular. Finally, "Let go." She roared with a pretty face. Zhou Luo grinned, "Okay. I'll count 1, 2, 3, let go, 1, 2 Chinese letter." With a muffled sound, the door of the office was opened vigorously, and a long and straight brown girl stood panting at the door, staring dumbly at everything that happened in the office. Zhou Luo and Caitlyn looked back one after another and shouted a name in unison. Angelica. At the door, the little girl grew her mouth, and after taking a hard breath, she raised her hands and covered her mouth. "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't see anything." However, inside her open fingers, the brown pupils still stared at the line between Zhou Luo and Caitlyn. "Wow, does that kind of thing need to be done? It feels so difficult. If I want to do this with Zhou, I have to work hard to learn yoga and exercise my flexibility." Angelica had just turned 14. Flashed various thoughts in her mind, and finally all the thoughts turned into firm beliefs. "I must work hard, effort, try harder at the desk." The two people who were confronting each other looked at each other and quickly let go. Caitlyn tidied up her clothes and yelled at Zhou Luo, "Now, get out of my office immediately." Zhou Luo gave a sullen laugh, and suddenly put his arms around her slender waist, and said in her ear, "Kate, you have just been emotional, and the breath still has a strange fragrance." Suddenly Caitlyn's face turned blue and red. "Roll." Rage's female leopard roared to warn the enemy not to invade her territory. Zhou Luo grinned and moved his palm down, snapped. With a crisp fragrance, he laughed and walked away, leaving Caitlyn with trembling hands and almost drawing his gun. Walking to the door, Zhou Luo blinked at lowly Angelica. The lovely middle school student made a gesture of making a calendar, left the office. Boom. The door of the office was violently closed, and then Caitlyn's reprimanding voice came from inside. Zhou Luo shook his head and walked down from the office upstairs to the lobby downstairs, refreshed. In the hall, Stark and Pepper were waiting for him. Seeing him come down safe and sound, Stark's eyes suddenly showed the same admiration of the mountain. "Zhu Yu B ******D. I thought I needed to call an ambulance for you later." Stark rushed forward and punched him. Zhou Luo smiled, glanced at little Pepper and said, "Stark, have you finished explaining to the police?" Stark smiled proudly and said, Explain what?" "My friend in the military came forward, and the matter has been handed over to the military. So we can go straight away, G." Zhou Luo smacked his lips and nodded, "Let's go." Subsequently, the three people walked out from the Los Angeles Police Department together. Outside, Colonel James Roddy was standing next to a big Cadillac, beckoning. "Hey Roddy's, hey Zhu." Zhou Luo and him beckoned roar to each other, while Stark was pulling the little Pepper and shouting impatiently, "Okay. I am very tired now and need to go back to rest immediately. Joe, you and Roddy, the friendship between the two is troublesome. Let's talk about it slowly in the future." James spread his hands. Zhou Luo shrugged, got in the car and drove straight towards Stark's seaside villa. Sky City. In the car, Colonel Roddy was silent for a while and said, Stark, we will have a press conference tomorrow. Don't admit that you have any relationship with Iron Man. Just say that you have been outside on vacation. And the rest we will resolve the matter. Stark nodded indifferently and said, okay, it's up to you. Colonel Luo Dai breathed a sigh of relief, and then began to brag with Zhou Luo. As for the specific circumstances of what happened on the Stark Industrial Building, no one mentioned it again. After sending Zhou Luo and Stark to the Sky City, Colonel Luodi drove away after confirming that it was safe. Stark, I will pick you up for the press conference early tomorrow morning. Don't forget. After saying this, Colonel Roddy drove away. After Zhou Luo entered the villa with Stark and Little Chili, they suddenly stopped Stark. Stark, let's talk separately. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running in the room. After Zio Chili opened a glass of champagne for two people, he consciously left. Zhou Luo leaned against the balcony with the development, while Stark sat on the sofa waiting for him to speak. A long time, Zhou Luo said. Stark, haven't you always been curious about what I do? Then I will ask you a question first. Stark stretched out his hand and said, you ask. Zhou Luo nodded and said, Mr. Stark, I now solemnly ask you, do you want to contribute your strength to this country and the peace of this world? Stark looked solemn and nodded, I do. Zhou Luo nodded and said, oh, but it doesn't matter. Immediately, Stark almost suffered an internal injury. Shit, unimportant things, why are you asking so solemnly? He couldn't help but complains. Zhou Luo spread his hands and said, I just want to see if you are a noble person. It turns out that your character is pretty good. Stark sighed and stopped talking afterwards. Zhou Luo stood up and said, Stark, I belong to SHIELD. And I am a high-level agent of SHIELD. I also have my partner's task, which is to resolve unconventional incidents that the FBI, your other institutions cannot resolve. For example, the battle between you and Obadiah. Another example, mutants. Stark's expression began to change, in fact. From the moment Zhou Luo waved his hand, Alpati's steel armor instantly turned red. And he even guessed a lot the moment he burned him directly. Now Zhou Luo talked about it personally, and he was finally sure. The identity of a friend I have known for 2 years is very difficult. So are you mutant? Stark asked curiously. Zhou Luo nodded and shook his head and said, in essence, I can be counted as a mutant, but in terms of the use of power, there is a huge amount of difference between me and mutant. Stark nodded blankly, not understanding what he called the difference. Naturally, Zhou Luo did not explain, but turned around and said solemnly, Stark, I am going to create a free organization independent of SHIELD to solve some supernatural forces that ordinary people cannot solve. Do you want to join? Stark thought about it for a long time and asked, okay. I'll join. Zhou Luo walked over, touched a cup and said, well, welcome to Avengers. Avengers, what kind of stock is this? Stark didn't understand, but felt very happy and drank the champagne in one sip. Now we are comrades in arms, right? Zhou Luo nodded and said, yes, we are comrades in arms. Stark stopped his neck and asked fiercely, then now you tell me if you and Pepper are in a group. Swear by the honor of Avengers. This guy is so persistent. Zhou Luo was almost defeated by him. You are also a few dozen years old. Do you have a leg that you can't see for yourself? Stark smiled sullenly and said, Zhao, before you appeared, I never put any playboys in my eyes, thinking that they were inferior to me whether they were playing women or anything else. But after you showed up, I realized that I and the entire dude of the United States are not playing with women but with money. Only you are playing with women, you are the real big player. So Joe, I want you to tell me personally if there is any relationship between you and Pepper. Otherwise I will feel uneasy, The evaluation is so high, I'm flattered. Zhou Luo said something again, then sternly said, Stark, you know my aesthetics, not to mention Miss Pepper's looks. But I can't accept it at this age. And she doesn't have a special design that appeals to me. So do you think I will have a leg with an ugly girl? To be honest, Zhou Luo is really not interested in this old pepper. He is only in his 20s and Lao Chili is in his 30s. And he is an ordinary person with spots all over his face. It would be weird if it could be chewed at the same time. He also expressed pity to the other comrades who traveled. And he would actually like the old pepper. Compared with the widow sister, she is far worse. Stark breathed a sigh of relief, then increased his volume. And groaned, Joe. You can insult my mind, but you can't insult my aesthetics. Pepper is beautiful. Zhou Luo raised his hand to surrender and nodded, Akyake. But no matter how beautiful it is not my thing. You can go to the strategy without worrying about cuckolding. Green hat, what is that? Stark frowned, puzzled. But soon he threw it behind his head. And after having another drink with Zhou Luo, he snapped his fingers and said, Jarvis. Arrange a room for Mr. Joe, we must make him feel at home. Good sir, a cold voice from Jarvis came and then said, Mr. Joe, please follow my instructions and rest in the room. Zhou Luo raised his eyebrows and said to Stark, when will I get an artificial intelligence like this for my home in Washington? Stark nodded and said, okay, no problem at all. Zhou Luo expressed his satisfaction and went to the guest room under the guidance of Jarvis. Stark went to talk to Xiao. As for what to talk about, and whether there will be some physical interactions outside the scope of the language during the talk, Zhou Luo doesn't care. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The next day, the military held a press conference. Among Colonel Roddy's surprised expression, Stark violated the agreement with him and publicly admitted that he was Iron Man. For a time, the world was shocked. And Stark became famous again. In the face of the disturbances from the outside world, this guy was rarely silent. Because he was locked in the villa by Zhou Luo and helped him design artificial intelligence programs overnight. And staying in Stark's villa for a few days, watching him and Xiao show their affection every day when they are busy. Zhou Luo gets a little angry. But for the sake of an artificial intelligence, it doesn't matter to be stuffed with dog food. Under his strong suppression, Stark, who had just established a relationship with Pepper, finally got the core of artificial intelligence and could install him in his home in Washington at any time. And on this evening, Zhou Luo received a call from Black Widow. Joe, the big green man, has arrived in Los Angeles. The military plans to arrest him tomorrow. Please pay attention to contact him afterwards and pull him into our team. Oh, Hulk actually came to Los Angeles. It seems that the time to gather the Avengers is not far away. Zhou Luo twisted the beard of his chin and then dialed Angelica's phone. Hey. A dumb voice came from the phone. Zhou Luo pursed his mouth and said, have you fallen asleep so early? Angelica rubbed her eyes and vomited. My sister's high-pressure rain has become more and more severe recently. If she hadn't forgotten about it today, maybe she would have collected her mobile phone. So amazing, Zhou Luo smacked his lips. And then asked, tomorrow Friday, dare you skip class? I will take you out to play. Suddenly, Angelica on the other side of the phone woke up instantly. With a surprised expression on her face, really. Then she showed a distressed look again. But if my sister knows, it will be miserable. Zhou Luo smiled and said, don't worry. You will go to school as normal tomorrow. I will take care of other things for you. Angelica showed a look of joy. And the chick nodded as if pecking at rice and said, okay. Okay, I see, I'm looking forward to it, Zhou Luo said. Then it's oh Kong Yuper, your sister will find out. Angelica showed regret and said, but the Lun family wants to talk to you more. Zhou Luo shook his head and said, tomorrow there will be opportunities. I can take you to play all day, so. Angelica gave a startled cry. And then said with a touch of sly, then what do you want to say first? WTF, Zhou Luo was a little at a loss, on the opposite side. Angelica was slightly anxious and said, what a F **K. I watched a short video of **. It said that this is a way to express intimacy. Oh shit. This little girl is quite fashionable, Akyake. Go to sleep or it will be miserable if your sister finds out. After hearing what he said in person, Angelica was finally satisfied, hung up the phone and deleted the call log. Then she put her phone in the drawer and fell asleep peacefully. But thinking of going out with Zhou Luo tomorrow. She can't fall asleep even after tossing and turning. Early the next morning, Zhou Luo went out, had a simple breakfast outside, and set off in his classic car that was equipped with the artificial intelligence developed by Stark and was modified by Stark himself. Los Angeles San Melenka Girls High School is a top middle school in the United States and definitely a pure girls' school. He drove the navigation and came to the entrance of the middle school. And then he was stopped by an ant guard. "Sir, this is a girls' high school, please stop." Zhou Luo probed from the car with a perfect smile on his face. "Hello, madams. How did you manage to maintain such a perfect body and skin condition in such a boring environment? It seems to you that menopause has always been a false word. Please forgive me for my offense. Are you 25 years old this year?" Under his terrible affinity and perfect smile, the guard's aunt suddenly let go of her vigilance, and she even showed a shy look on her face. "You are really a discerning gentleman. But I am already 39 years old this year. It's really time to go by a beauty in old age." Zhou Luo smiled undiminished and continued to drink the ecstasy soup. "Madam, beautiful women are like aging grapes. The years have not left any traces on your body. But on the contrary, it makes your inner fragrance more and more mellow. I wonder if you are honored to invite you to dinner. I think with your temperament, you need the best Bordeaux red wine to be worthy of it." The gatekeeper's aunt covered her face and smiled so that her gums were exposed. "Sir, you have a foresight." Zhou Luo swallowed hard and tore off a piece of sticky paper. He wrote Stark's personal phone number on it and handed it to the aunt and said, "Madam, my name is Tony. This is my phone number. If you join me to enjoy the night view of Santa Monica, please remember to call me." The doorman took the post-it note with both hands, almost bursting her blood vessels with excitement. "I will remember. My name is Monica. I will definitely contact you." She nodded and then asked, "Then Mr. Tony, what do you want to do when you go to school?" Zhou Luo smiled perfectly and said, "My neighbor's sister is going to school in this school. Something happened in her family and she needs to go back immediately. But her family is very busy now and can't help her personally ask for leave. So I'm here as a neighbor. The school handles the relevant procedures." The aunt saw his eyes getting hotter and hotter and exclaimed, "Ah, you are really an enthusiastic person. Then please come in." The fence of the small door opened, and Zhou Luo drove a classic car and swaggered into the S. Melenka Girls' Middle School under the watch of his aunt. Afterwards, he used the same method to make Angelica's female teacher Faye red and hide the note next to her body. Then, under the leadership of the female teacher, she came to Angelica's class and successfully took her out of the school. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After leaving school, Angelica was like a happy bird leaving the birdcage, more lively than Alice in Washington for the first time. Zhou Luo took her to play as much as possible, and almost played all the more fun places in Los Angeles. Throughout the whole day, the girl was madly releasing her excess energy, and even people like Zhou Luo, whose body had been strengthened many times, couldn't help it. When he brought Alice to the beach of Santa Monica, he unexpectedly found two familiar figures, dressed up carefully and made some disguise. Stark. There is another, the gatekeeper of San Melenka. Holy shit. Stark, this guy won't really be asked out by this bell can. Have a good show. With a low growls, Zhou Luo pulled Angelica into the cafe next to him. After ordering a cup of coffee, the two of them lay down on the window and started watching the show. And he even took out the camera and began to record these precious pictures. My main business is a photographer. Helping others find lifelong hobbies is just my side job. I must always keep in mind. Zhou Luo warned himself secretly and pressed the shutter. Click, click, the shutter sound kept ringing. Angelica asked curiously, "Joe, What are you doing taking pictures? Zhou Luo turned around and asked, do you recognize who that woman is? Angelica nodded and said that's Aunt Monica, the gatekeeper of the school. I didn't expect her vision to be good. And the date she was dating looked very good-natured. Zhou Luo bared his teeth and said, that man is Stark. Tony Stark suddenly. Angelica's eyes widened and her mouth opened to reveal her small teeth. How can this be? Zhou Luo spread his hands and said. Although it's impossible, it's true. Because today I used a beautiful boy to help you ask for leave. And then I left Tony's phone number, that's the result. God, Angelica's eyes widened staring at Tony Stark, who was crazily entangled by Monica Auntie Monica on the opposite street. Zhou Luo raised the camera again and snapped 2 photos. Haven't you always wanted a car? This time someone will pay for it for you. Angelica turned her head and asked, who? Zhou Luo pointed to Starksificating a smile and said, there is a fool, click click, a few more photos were taken. And then Tony Stark finally broke free of Monica's big hand like a fan. And fled in embarrassment 2 minutes later. Zhou Luo's phone rang. It was Stark's call. Zhu. You be *****D. You gave my phone to such a terrible woman. I hate you on the phone, Stark roared exhaustedly. Zhou Luo smiled hard and asked Stark, who won't be asked out. Are you? Stark Poseidon then said. Pepper needs to work overtime to deal with group affairs today. You are out again. I am bored by myself as a result. Someone called me and asked me with a good voice and a beautiful name. As he spoke, his voice began to improve. But I didn't expect him at all. The other party turned out to be a woman older than me and bloated like a fat pig. What's more F***G is that she even dislikes me. She hates me. From the sound, he must be very crazy now. Zhou Luo smiled hard. But he recalled how Stark had just met with Aunt Monica. And even the scene where Stark was disgusted by the aunt. He couldn't help but laughed out loud. Tony Stark, who has been in love with supermodels and played friendly matches with Hollywood actresses, was disgusted by a bloated Dorman aunt, ha. He couldn't help laughing, a-holes. Stark yelled and yelled, you still have a smile. You have a smile, Zhu, if you don't apologize to me. Don't blame me for not talking about friendship. Zhou Luo smiled yin and said, Stark, I will send you a few photos first, please take a look. After speaking, he sent the picture he had just taken with his mobile phone to Stark and waited quietly. After a few seconds, Zhu, don't leave if you have the ability. Stark's voice was gloomy, like a ghost crawling out of hell. Zhou Luo smiled and said, Stark, do you need me to tell Pepper about this? Suddenly, his face was gloomy and Stark, who was about to put on the steel armor and fight with Zhou Luo, got stuck. Zhou Luo continued to put pressure on it. Stark's anger disappeared instantly, and he forced a low growl. What can you tell her? Don't you think I care about her? Zhou Luo raised his eyebrows and said, really don't care. Stark insisted, yes. Oh, can I ask her to hang out on Santa Monica Beach tonight? Santa Monica Beach is still night. Stark's face became difficult to look. He could almost imagine it. With the charm of Zhou Luo as a B******D, he could definitely let Little Pepper climb onto him in a daze. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. You be *****D, don't you give me a bit of face. His voice became bitter, as if he was abandoned after being played with by Zhou Luo. Zhou Luo smacked his lips and said, okay, Stark. This is just a small twist in life, don't worry about it. I still have things on my side if I were you. Just go to the Stark building and go directly to pick Pepper from get off work. And then a romantic dinner plus a romantic ex-life. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing? It seems to make sense. Stark thought for a while and thanked Zhou Luo for his proposal, forgetting that he was calling this phone to inquire about crimes. After hanging up the phone, said to Angelica, who was covering her mouth with a sulking smile, Angie, today I will take you to an absolutely interesting restaurant for dinner. Get in the car. Angelica nodded excitedly and got into the classic car. Driving the car, I came to a Huxia restaurant next to Santa Monica Beach. Zhou Luo ordered some special dishes suitable for ladies and some hard dishes. While waiting for the food to be served, he opened the system panel while cooperating with Angelica for a selfie. Super God Photographer System Host, Zhou Luo. Main profession, photographer recording beautiful moments. And extracting ability from photos, main skills 1. Photography, record beautiful moments and freeze frames. The qualified photos taken can increase the experience value of extraction skills. 2. Extract LV2, 43-100. A skill or attribute of the corresponding character can be extracted from the photos taken. And the current extraction ability completeness is 20%. Deputy Occupation, Life Mentor guide those who only know how to fight and kill lost lambs. Develop their lifelong hobbies, Student 1. Natasha Romanoff Normanoff Black Widow, Foodie LV2 1210 can be upgraded. 2. Steve Rogers Captain America, Dunzi LV195 can be upgraded. 3. Tony Stark Iron Man, P*** PLV2 9/10-4. Clarice Fang Flashing, Sunny Fun Model LV3 7/15-5. Bruce Wayne Batman Stubborn Lord LV2 1210 can be upgraded. 6. Chin Gray Phoenix, Barbecues Aishi LV2 6/10-7. Harley Quinn Female Joker, Torture Master LV175 can be upgraded. Looking at the system panel, Zhou Luo decisively chose to upgrade all of the several upgradable items. Ding Joker Female upgrade to Master of Torture, LV2. Brain Hole plus 10% physical fitness plus 10%. Medical knowledge minus 10% accuracy minus 10%. The next upgrade experience is 2/10, Ding. The host has the 5th student who was upgraded to LV2. With all attributes plus 8%, Ding. Batman upgrade to Master of Stubborn Lord, LV3. Mental freedom plus 15% physical fitness limit plus 10%. Mental power plus 10% animal affinity plus 15%. The next upgrade experience is 2/15, Ding. The host has the 2nd student upgraded to LV3. With all attributes plus 40%, Ding. Natasha Romanoff Normanoff upgraded to Food, LV3 Smell. Taste digestion ability. Body strength upper limit increased by 25%. The next upgrade experience value is 2/15, Ding. Congratulations to the host for gaining the 3rd LV3 level student. All attributes increased by 25%, Ding. Steve Rogers upgrade to Dunzi LV2. Body control ability recovery 10%. Physical fitness upper limit plus 10 melee ability plus 10%. The next upgrade experience is 4/10, Ding. Congratulations to the host for having the 6th student who was upgraded to LV2. All attributes plus 6%. Among the series of cold system prompts, Zhou Luo felt a huge amount of heat sweeping through his body, and his fatigue was immediately wiped out at the same time. His physical strength is also crazily strengthening in this. His physical strength has far exceeded the limit of ordinary people. And he is marching into a wonderful field, his blood, his muscles, bones, and everything in his body are undergoing subtle changes. Roar, comfortable, Roar let out a sigh of relief. Picked up the cup on the table and took a sip of tea. Before long, the dishes he ordered were brought up one by one, and the fragrance diffused to make both him and Angelica shine. This Huxia restaurant is good. When Zhou Luo was teaching Angelica how to use the best chopsticks to eat in this authentic Huxia restaurant, Captain Americaho cuts potato shreds in Washington. Suddenly felt that his body seemed strange, variety. At the same time, he felt that his brain was ethereal, and his muscles became extremely active at this moment. He felt as if he was in the dark, was favored by the gods. Tuck 2-2, the silver knife flicker red end in an instant. He cut a potato into more even potato shreds. Looking down at his masterpiece, his face changed rapidly. This is an epiphany. This must be the epiphany I mentioned earlier this week. He really didn't lie at this moment. Captain America looked up to Zhou Luo like a mountain, and was grateful. Zhou really a good buddy. He bowed his head and sighed, then took out his cell phone and dialed Zhou Luo's number. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. As soon as the call was connected, he excitedly shouted, "Zhou, I succeeded. I have an epiphany. I feel that my control has been restored a lot. I feel that even my body has undergone subtle changes. And my understanding of fighting suddenly gained new insights. Thank you, my dear friend," on the other side of the phone. Zhou Luo vomited the sauerkraut fish bones and calmly said, "Steve, although you have successfully taken the first step, you still need to work harder. Do you know how many times my master has had an epiphany? I had an epiphany twice, if you need someone to share your joy. I think she might be able to give you some suggestions." After that, before Captain America continued to speak, he said again, "Well, Steve, I'm eating now. I think you don't want me to lose face in front of a beautiful lady. Do you?" On the opposite side, the joy of Captain America was blocked by Zhou Luo, which made him feel uncomfortable. After hanging up the phone, he hesitated for a while and called Black Widow. On the other side of the phone, the Widow sister sitting at the SHIELD headquarters is happily skewering kebabs. These kebabs are Turkish kebabs she finally bought after get off work, and they are still hot. She is not very surprised about the changes in her body. Anyway, she has already experienced it once. And as a qualified foodie, the biggest food and delicious food is the biggest. Jingle bell, the phone ringing stubbornly repeated. And the Widow sister, who finished a bunch of widows, carefully picked up the phone to connect. "Steve, if you have nothing important, don't call me casually," while answering the phone. She picked up a skewer of barbecue and slapped it. "Wow. Really delicious." Captain America's excitement came from the phone. "Natasha Romanoff, I got an epiphany. I experienced the kind of epiphany Joe said." Black Widow swallowed the beef in his mouth and said indifferently, "Oh, is it? I felt it when I ate the skewers, and it was the second time." On the other side of the phone, Captain America was full of excitement, wanting to share happiness, but was instantly wiped out by the Widow's sister and turned into cholesterol. Can you have an epiphany when you eat?" He said it was difficult to accept. He has been in contact with cutting potato shreds for so long, and the potatoes cut out are enough to supply SHIELD canteen. Finally, he experienced the epiphany in Zhou Luo's mouth. He did not expect Black Widow to experience it by eating silently. It's the second time. Why is the gap between people so big at this moment? The joy in Captain America's heart disappeared, and bitterness began to fill what's so depressed. Putting down the phone, he stared at the big bag of potatoes beside him, turning his grief and anger into strength. Tuck 2-2. The kitchen knife flashed, silver, the potato shreds flew, and he entered the working state again at the same time. Batman, who was far away in Gotham City, suddenly felt that kind of strange state. He squeezed his fists, rubbed the head of a newly bought little husky in his arms, and muttered in a low voice, "Zhou is really a genius. Raising a dog and playing birds can also make my ability stronger. If you come to Gotham as a guest, I must treat him well." In the Huxia restaurant, after Zhou Luo's careful teaching, Angelica still failed to learn how to use chopsticks. But this can't resist her yearning for food. And you can taste the food from Daxia with a fork. Eating asterisk delicacies and drinking the best Moutai aging. Angelica's face turned into a moving blush, suddenly tilde. Boom, there is a loud noise and the fire is transpiring. On the street outside the Huxia restaurant, a huge green figure rushed by, causing the cars on the street to whistle frantically. And even one car after another crashed together, causing bursts of explosions behind the green figure. The military's armored vehicles swarmed, constantly shooting at him. In addition, there is a monster that is bigger than the green figure, with a hideous spur behind itis chasing frantically. The street was chaotic, and many diners in the Huxia restaurant were scared and screamed by the scene. "Ah, those two monsters are amazing," Angelica, who was sitting by the window, gave Roar a surprise, and then shouted at Zhou Luo, "Julitsko. These two monsters are terrible." Zhou Luo calmly shook his head back into Angelica and said, It's okay if you feel scared, you can sit by my side. Suddenly her eyes lit up, and she ran to Zhou Luo's side without hesitation. A pair of slender arms directly encircling his waist. Wow. What a strong abs. Angelica took a sip of water and muttered. Joe, I'm scared. Then he rubbed his heart like a kitten. Wow, oh my god, what a majestic pectoralis major. The little girl felt like she had a fever as if she had a cold. And she felt a little bit drunk after drinking some alcohol. Zhou Luo rubbed her soft long hair while watching the fierce battle on the street. Outside, the Hulk has come close to Abomination. Boom, boom, boom. The two mutant monsters roared frantically, shaking the ground when they fought. And the whole street was in a mess. In addition, there are also military armored vehicles and helicopters, which are also constantly spewing gunfire. Pointing directly at the Hulk, roar, a crazy roar sounded. And Hulk went crazy amidst the successive provocations. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Boom, boom, boom. The angry Hulk's strength greatly increased, and the hatred started a frenzied battle. And the entire Santa Monica street was severely damaged. One after another of the United States, people lost their lives in this sudden disaster. And the whole area was filled with a strong smell of blood. Inside the military command vehicle, General Ross, who was commanding remotely, had a gloomy face. A little unlovable, regardless of the outcome this time. He will be held accountable by Congress. And it is estimated that life will not be too easy. In the continuous roar and concussion, the Los Angeles police finally arrived late. Headed by it happened to be the Los Angeles policewoman Caitlyn. She took the elite snipers of the Los Angeles police and rushed to the tall building next to her, preparing for a long-range attack. Caitlyn was carrying a special sniper rifle, looking at the two fighting monsters in front of her with a scope. Her expression ugly, a-hole. How come there are so many monsters in this world? Is God blind? She cursed in a low voice. Then aimed at one of the disgusting eyes and squeezed the trigger decisively. Bio with a muffled sound. The muffler burst into the air with a large caliber bullet with a special pattern and flew out silently. With a throb in disgust, he subconsciously tilted his head slightly and closed his eyes. Puff with a soft sound, the blood burst, and the bullet penetrated into the Abomination skin and stuck on his brow bone. Roar and angry roar erupted from his mouth. The muscles all over his body swelled with abhorrence, and he flew the Hulk with a punch and then jumped directly from the top of the building. Suddenly Caitlyn's expression changed slightly, and she quickly aimed and pulled the trigger again. The second bullet flew out, bu tilde tilde. Her marksmanship was so sharp that she flew out at the moment of disgust and landed on the collarbone of his neck. But he was stuck again and still failed to cause much damage. There was a sneer in his eyes, but suddenly his expression changed drastically. Boom. A violent explosion burst out on his collarbone. Blood spattered and minced meat flew everywhere. This special bullet exploded, exploding a hole as big as a bowl in the place of his collarbone, exposing the deep bones inside immediately afterwards. Another bullet flew over. Tate roared angrily again, grabbed a sign on the building and threw it towards Caitlyn. Boom, the signboard was directly blown into pieces. But the fragments still flew towards her, a flexible dodge. Caitlyn, who had escaped these fragments, turned around and shot again at the same time. Other police officers also took aim and used special burst bombs to attack Roar's hatred. It's a pity that he has learned well. And when he rushed towards Caitlyn, he shredded countless pieces of reinforced concrete, making these building materials his best defense. The explosions sounded from time to time, and he was quickly approaching Caitlyn. Behind him, the Hulk also chased after him again, a hole. Seeing disgust quickly approach the roof where she was hiding, Caitlyn turned and swooped. Boom, the building shook. Like a gecko, and quickly climbed to the top of the building. On the ground, drops of sweat came out of Caitlyn's forehead, and she took out two large-caliber special pistols from her waist. Boom, booms, the bullets poured out frantically, but they were blocked by a concrete slab by the abhorrence. During the explosion, the concrete slab was smashed into pieces, Caitlyn's delicate and pretty face was already covered with sweat. Her hand quietly reached her waist, but she felt empty. Shit, I forgot to bring a special grenade in a hurry. She cursed secretly, her eyes rolled. And she drilled into the corridor as flexibly as a civet cat. However, boom, with a muffled sound. The Hulk rushed up to the tall building, unintentionally slapped a large piece of concrete and flew out, directly blocking the door, a *** hole. Caitlyn was so angry that she wanted to curse. Boom. Amidst the successive loud noises, the Hulk and Abomination began to fight each other again. But Abomination had fallen into a rage and the Force's sword. And the Hulk was blown out again after only a few right clicks. Looking back, there was a cruel light in his hatred eyes. And he pointed out his hideous claws towards Caitlyn. That's it, Caitlyn's face was gray. And she tried to dodge but found that she had nowhere to hide. Jump down, jump. She gritted her teeth, closed her eyes, and rushed forward. Boom, with a muffled noise, she felt she hit a wall. Chief Caitlyn, why are you so embarrassed? The joking voice sounded. Caitlyn opened her eyes and saw that the B***D, who often appeared in her dreams, was standing in front of her with her arms around her sister's slender waist. Weak, she asked suspiciously and then looked furious. What are you doing holding Angelica? Let go now. Zhou Luo shook his head and pulled her over with his other hand. His arm wrapped around her slender and powerful waist. Okay, Caitlyn, don't be jealous, now you are also hugged. He joked. Then he took a step back with his arms around the two beauties. And the Crimson Phoenix Force formed a shield suspended in front of them. The disgusting claws swept across the crimson shield. And suddenly a burnt smell hit him, causing him to retreat like an electric shock. This is. What ability? Caitlyn's face was dull. And suddenly her face was gloomy. And she whispered a *** hole. How many things do I know about you? You turned out to be a mutant. Facing Caitlyn's sudden questioning, Zhou Luo curled his lips without explaining. Kate, what we need to care about now is how to deal with these two big guys. Instead of worrying about how many things I have hidden. The arms that hugged Caitlyn's slender waist were tight. And then with force he threw out the two beauties. One big and one small, take care of Angelica. Caitlyn gritted her teeth and muttered, she is my sister. And I don't need you to explain it. Beside, Angelica said, but he just saved you. Caitlyn turned her head, her eyes were dangerous. And she hurriedly shrank her neck in fright. On the other side, Zhou Luo stood by the building with his hands in his pockets. And smiled jokingly at his hatred, hey, it's so ugly. I don't bother to move you if you don't move. Abomination stared at him cautiously. In addition to chaos and brutality, there was a touch of unconcealed fear in his eyes. One of his paws was brimming with bones. And the moment he was in contact with Phoenix Force, he was hit hard. The hatred was slowly receding. And he felt that Zhou Luo was dangerous on the side. Caitlyn was half to death when he heard him say this. And roared, Zhou you be ***D, why don't you subdue him? Zhou Luo spread his hands and said, Miss Caitlyn, this is your police business, I'm just an agent. Caitlyn's face was blue and roared, but you are also a federal civil servant. And you are obliged to maintain federal peace. Zhou Luo fished his ears, as if he hadn't heard what she was saying. Who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I do not know. Watching the hatred turn around, Zhou Luo simply sat down on the ground, watching him and the Hulk come and go, doing a nice job. With a fight, the two monsters hit downstairs. This devastated skyscraper was left trembling in the sea breeze. Caitlyn came over and asked in a cold voice, why don't you subdue it? Zhou Luo hit haha and said, because I can't beat him. Caitlyn was speechless, and she was not sure whether Zhou Luo could beat the monster. On the side, Angelica also said that monster is so terrible. And naturally, the military and police have taken care of it. Besides, Zhou is also trying to ensure our safety. Caitlyn was even more speechless. What can I say? She gave a cold snort, grabbed the sniper rifle again, and prepared to continue attacking hatred. Zhou Luo pressed down her gun barrel, pointed to the fierce battle below and said, well, The big green guy can take care of that stuff. It's too weak compared to Hulk. Caitlyn looked up, her eyes changing rapidly. Hulk. What do you know? Zhou Luo spread his hands and said in a beating tone, I don't know anything. Just lie to the ghost. Caitlyn wanted to use coercive measures, but after thinking about it for a while, she felt that she was using compulsive methods now. Maybe it can't be forced, it's more like a woman's spoiling. Forget it, take a look on the street. Hulk's girlfriend finally appeared and was in danger. This time he finally aroused greater anger. And anger made his strength climb wildly. Boom. With a punch, the hatred was lifted off. Boom. With a kick, hatred was stepped into the dirt. Boom, boom. Boom's Hulk picked up a foot of hatred like an angry baboon. Smashing hatred frantically, the ground is broken. The stones were flying everywhere. And under the horrifying force of Hulk, the already traumatized hatred finally passed out. However, it still hasn't turned into a prototype. After overturning the hatred, Hulk's power gradually dissipated, and Bruce Banner finally turned into an ordinary middle-aged man lying on the ground. As the battle between the two monsters subsided, the surrounding Los Angeles police and General Rose crowded around, carefully approaching Bruce Banner and the hideous hatred. And General Ross, who personally directed the battle in the command vehicle not far away, slammed his fist and snarled, quick pass now. We must not let the Los Angeles police or other organizations or individuals take away Bruce Banner and Egypt. Milbrunsky, afterwards the command vehicle, escorted by 2 armored vehicles, rushed towards that side frantically upstairs. Zhou Luo clapped his hands and said to Caitlyn, let's go. It's time to go down and clean up the mess. Caitlyn nodded. But her face was a bit unsightly and said, this matter has the military's participation, so it's not easy to clean up. Zhou Luo spread his hands indifferently and said, if there is anything that can't be cleaned up, it's just the military. Just do it with confidence and boldness. Caitlyn rolled her eyes and walked up the stairs first. After a few minutes, they went downstairs and the military had already had some conflicts with the Los Angeles police. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. Driving a classic car, Zhou Luo left the unfathomable city of Gotham and returned to Washington. Boom, throwing himself on the chewing a daze. The phone rang again. He connected the phones, and Jane Foster's slightly disturbed voice came through the loudspeaker. Hello, Mr. Joe, did I disturb you? Zhou Luo snorted and said, in fact, you didn't bother me, Ms. Foster, on the contrary, I should thank you for the call. Or I might miss dinner. On the other side of the phone, Jane Foster looked relaxed. In fact, she made this call, but it took her half an hour to gather her courage. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Joe, to rest. You should be too busy because Mr. Stark was kidnapped, right? Zhou Luo raised his eyebrows. Since he left SHIELD, he has not paid attention to Stark. So he didn't know that 3 hours ago, Ten Rings fake Mandarin had started a global live broadcast. But after hearing Jane Foster's words, he had already guessed the result. Oh, Miss Foster, you know Tony is my best friend. So after knowing that he was in danger in Afghan, as a good friend, I contacted the top mercenaries to rescue him in Afghan as soon as possible. The team I hired has arrived in Afghan and is searching for traces of his kidnappers. And because I was too focused, I was too tired and took a break. Zhou Luo ran the train with his mouth full, making Jane Foster look at him with admiration. This man from Daxia is definitely a good person. Otherwise, the reaction would not be faster than the FBI of the United States. Then, Miss Foster, can you tell me now? Are you calling to tell me something? Zhou Luo got up and poured a glass of boiled water into it, and asked on the phone. Jane Foster suddenly recovered and quickly said, Mr. Zhao, through your inspiration yesterday. Today we have made some fine-tuning of the laboratory equipment. As a result, some extraordinary cosmic fluctuations have been detected. If you don't eat for dinner, may I invite you to dinner and analyze these unusual cosmic fluctuations by the way? After speaking, Jane Foster's face showed a hint of anxiety. For the first time, I actively invited a man to dinner. Will he be rejected? Oh. Unusual fluctuations in the universe, Zhou Luo frowned. And after thinking about it for a while, he discovered that there shouldn't be any incidents involving the cosmic races recently. The only fluctuation that may be noticed by Jane Foster, and the others may be the changes brought about by Asgard's Bifrost during Operation. Zhou Luo relaxed and said, "Definitely this is my honor." Jane Foster breathed a sigh of relief. And at the same time, a blush climbed onto her pretty face. I don't know, Wish has huge amounts of favor with Zhou Luo. A man who has only met once. The so-called cosmic fluctuation does exist. But it is not her main purpose for inviting Zhou Luo. Her real purpose is because Zhou Luo's shadow always flashes in her mind today. After learning about Tony Stark being attacked and kidnapped, she thought that Zhou Luo had also gone to the Middle East with Stark. So she made this call to confirm whether Zhou Luo was safe. Inside Jane Foster's home in the suburbs of Washington, Zhou Luo sat in front of the dining table, tasting the authentic steak of the United States. Jane Foster was sitting across from him, looking a little worried. Miss Foster, with all due respect. Zhou Luo raised her head under her nervous look. She smiled and said, "You have extraordinary abilities in cooking. Maybe you can try to be a master cook in addition to being an astrophysicist." Woolen cloth immediately. Jane Foster breathed a sigh of relief relieved. It's good if it suits Mr. Zhou's taste. As for the cooking skills, I will also study hard. Zhou Luo raised his eyebrows. And the cold system alert sounded suddenly again, ding. The host flicked casually, which made Jane Foster have a strong interest in cooking, and successfully opened her lifelong hobby, Sichuan cuisine chef LV1. If you want to learn, I can teach you great cooking from the East. Zhou Luo shrugged, showing a charming smile. Really? Jane Foster was surprised and delighted. Oh, Mr. Zhou, you are really a kind person. I heard that cooking in an Oriental restaurant is a secret. If you want to learn it, you need to worship, apprentice. She spoke Huxia in the last two words. Although she said it awkwardly, Zhou Luo was surprised. He didn't expect Jane Foster to speak Huxia. Although I don't mind that much if you want. Maybe I can officially accept you as a disciple and teach you how to cook. Zhou Luo laughed. Mentor and apprentice, exciting. Definitely I am willing. But now is not the time to talk about this. I think we can talk about some other topics, some topics that make us happy. Zhou Luo's face got closer and closer, and the breath sprayed onto Jane Foster's face, making her roar suck instantly. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running, by the way. That unusual cosmic fluctuation you mentioned. When you find it again, you must notify me. Lying on Jane Foster's soft bed, Zhou Luo's heart moved and suddenly said, "Huh." Jane Foster, who was lying on Zhou Luo's chest with a satisfied circle, raised her head and looked at him with some puzzlement. If you trace the trajectory of the cosmic fluctuations, please contact me and I will investigate with you. He doesn't want to appear like in the movie. Jane Foster meets Thor again. Since the facts have proved that the encounter between the two was an unfortunate event, it would be better to keep them out of touch from the beginning. I'm so wise, Zhou Luo thought to himself. Hey Zhou. I'm sorry to disturb you, but I think you should take a look at this. When Zhou Luo overwhelmed Jane Foster again and was about to do it again, the B*******D Phil Coulson interrupted his good deeds again. Phil Coulson, why do you always pick the best time to contact me? Just because I disturbed you at the best time. Do you want to retaliate against me like this? Joe UB*****D, Phil Coulson snarled over the phone. Sooner or later I will screw your head off and then. Ignoring Phil Coulson's rant, Zhou Luo said lightly, "Hey. If you continue like this I can hang up." Hey, okay. Phil Coulson helplessly suppressed the dissatisfaction in his heart. I think you better look at this. What is it? Seeing the video sent by Phil Coulson, Zhou Ning opened it curiously. After watching the entire video, Zhou Ning turned off the video with a green expression. You didn't try to stop it, that laboratory is legal. And all subjects are resources, so we have no right to stop. Phil Coulson explained, shit is legal voluntary. Phil Coulson, have you learned to use this kind of bureaucratic nonsense to lie to me? Zhou Luo exposed him mercilessly. Is there someone in that laboratory? I didn't say anything, Phil Coulson answered perfectly. Okay, but it has nothing to do with me, does it? Zhou Luo suddenly laughed lightly. Wait a minute, isn't that your woman's? Phil Coulson's voice sounded a little surprised. I can hardly imagine this was your answer, first of all. I want to emphasize that I have never expressed any love to her. And I have no reason to prevent her from pursuing to become stronger. Secondly, want to use me as a gunman, let's live 800 years. Zhou Luo hung up after speaking, and didn't even give Phil Coulson a chance to speak. This stinky woman. Zhou Luo's eyes were bright and uncertain a few hours ago. Brooklyn, Blackwater Street. Even if this neighborhood is in Brooklyn, which is famous for its chaos, it can be considered a sinister place. Walking on the streets of Haishui Street, you can see street robbers and gangster gunmen everywhere. Speed gangs ride on Harley motorcycle roar, and drug dealers sneak up and down. Ordinary people will only be caught here. There are no bones left after eating. Harley Quinn hurriedly walked on the roads, only to kill a few unlucky people who didn't have long eyes to come up with him. Turning a blind eye to everything else, Project X. Mutant Zhou, in order to be able to catch up with you. I am willing to sacrifice everything, watch it. Harley Quinn was talking while looking at the surrounding environment. Blackwater Street was full of filth and darkness. In the Sin City of New York City, there are many such remote streets and alleys. Each of these buildings looks the same, it's tattered, with graffiti painted on the walls, and cheap exterior decorations. It's a terrible occasion. But no matter how bad it is, it can't compare to the unfathomable Gotham City. Found it, it's here. Harley Quinn stopped in front of a bar. Chapter 60, the birthplace of Deadpool. Mercenary Bar is also a very famous place in the Marvel Universe. Unlike ordinary bars, it offers mercenaries who spend money to sell their lives. Mercenary bars are also global chains and are found in many big cities. The Mercenary Bar in New York is exactly where Deadpool worked before the birth. Damn it, I once told her briefly about things here. How could she remember it so clearly? Sitting in his classic car, Zhou Ning was on the way back to S. HILD. The X-Weapon project was actually the Super Soldier project. The content of this project was basically a humanoid weapon. Captain America was the product of the X-Weapon project. The X is not the English letter X, but the Roman numeral 10. However, the scientist in charge of this project was killed when Captain America succeeded, and was reintroduced by Stryker during the Cold War. However, it did not intend to transform people here, but took it a step further. Mutant is transformed to use mutant to make humanoid weapons more powerful. Wolverine is one of its products. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running after that. The Institute was destroyed several times, but was re-established several times. The founder of each time may not even be an organization. After all, Mutant has huge potential. And there is more than one organization that wants to use its weapons. But basically, the name X-Weapon is used. The X-Weapon Research Institute that gave birth to Deadpool was established by Dr. Gilbro. Unlike the previous X-Weapon research institutions, their goal is to transform ordinary people into mutants. Not to transform ready-made mutants, definitely. The transformed mutant will eventually be controlled by brainwashing and used as an X-Weapon. And the beginning of the Deadpool plot was the Mercenary Bar. And Harley Quinn's purpose for going there was obvious. She wanted to participate in the X-Weapons Research Institute and become mutant through the same method as Deadpool. Pushing the door of the bar and walking in. The inside of the bar is almost as messy as the outside. The people sitting and drinking inside don't look good. They are either tattooed or decorated with metal. They look fiercely. The two of them were almost armed with weapons. The wall of the bar is densely covered with single holes. And it is written in unusually bright fonts, "Don't shoot in the bar." No matter how you look at it, it is an extremely dangerous place. Harley Quinn didn't care about this either, and went straight to the bar. "Hey buddy, bring me a glass of whiskey." The bartender is a slightly gentler in the current environment with glasses. He glanced at Harley Quinn, attracted by her extremely seductive appearance, and came up with a smile, "Sorry beauty. This bar I don't have a business license, so it's illegal to sell alcohol. But the chef at the bar has some whiskey in my private possession. If you like it, you can join me." Before he finished speaking, Harley Quinn grabbed the collar and pulled him over. Harley Quinn's sexy and charming lips pressed against his ears. "Listen to Kitty. If you don't want to go to the hospital and ask the doctor to sew your ear, please give me a glass of whiskey as soon as possible. No." Okay. The bartender raised his hands again and again to beg for mercy, and quickly poured a glass of wine over. But he obviously hasn't given up his heart yet. And he smiled and came up again, "Beauty. Is there anything I can do for you? I must not just come here for a drink, maybe I can." "Wade Wilson, I want to find him," Harley Quinn replied. The bartender was taken aback for a moment, and then a weird smile appeared on his face. "You are looking for him?" "Noit's there." Looking down where the bartender was pointing, Harley Quinn saw the person he was looking for. Deadpool was in the corner of the bar right now, talking to a man in a black suit, "Mr. Wilson." The man greeted Roar with a smile. But he didn't look like a good person, so he almost wrote me as the villain on his face. "What can I do for you?" Deadpool asked. "If it is to help you abduct a child into your van, then forget it." The man was not angry. "I understand that you were recently diagnosed with terminal cancer. Are you following me?" Deadpool looked wary. "This is my job. I am a recruiter. I sympathize with your hardship. But this is also an opportunity, as far as I know. You used to be a warrior in the Special Forces and killed 41 people." Wade interrupted the other person. "What the hell do you want to do?" The man smiled slightly. "I will extend a helping hand to you on behalf of my organization. What if I tell you that we can cure your cancer? At the same time give you the super ability that others dream of?" The man in black said inductively, his voice full of temptation. But Deadpool didn't take this one, at least not immediately. "What you said is really like those TV direct sellers. But unfortunately, I'm not as stupid as those old women who spend $1.00 on plastic jewelry." Deadpool obviously didn't believe the man in black's words, and finally refused after chatting for a few words, turning around and leaving. The man in black sat there with the same smile on his face, but a little more sinister. "You will come back, Wilson. You will come back." At this moment, Harley Quinn sat down across from him. "Good evenings." The man in black froze for a moment and saw that it was a young woman. He was a little surprised, but he still reacted immediately, and said without a smile, "Good evening, young lady. What can I do for you?" "I'm sorry I overheard your conversation. You said you can become a superhero, is it true?" The man in black suddenly showed a smile. "It doesn't matter if you don't laugh. But this smile seems even more sneaky. Definitely is true. This lady is interested in being a superhero, yes. I have always wanted to be a superhero, and I am willing to pay any price for this." Harley Quinn deliberately showed a fanatical expression. Note: Chapter 35-36 due to some reasons cannot upload. Here the author apologizes and has made remedial measures. Put 35-36 in the work related. You can browse in the work related. I sincerely apologize for causing an unpleasant reading experience to everyone. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The man in black said in his heart, "Why is this man so proactive? He recruited people to be the guinea pigs. And he was completely invisible, therefore. He was secretly scammed and kidnapped before. But everyone has learned the skills these days. It's not that you said you could become a superhero and agreed to join. In addition, he has a villain face. And he usually refuses as soon as he speaks. And some even want to beat him. So he had to find those who were terminally ill. Or those who lacked arms or legs. Or even homeless people to serve as experimental subjects. This would cause someone to come to the door on their own initiative. Suddenly feeling flattered, I've been a liar for a long time. So I am naturally a little wary of this kind of pie in the sky. So you want to join our plan. But if you don't have some qualifications. Harley Quinn escaped the phone directly and showed the person in black the photo inside. It was taken by someone who killed some people before. Did you see these corpses? I did it all. I think I have what you call the qualifications. Now the man in black really doesn't know what to say. This is obviously a problem with his brain, but it's better. Thinking of this, he suddenly changed his expression. It looks like you are indeed ready. If that is the case, come with me. Harley Quinn followed the man in black and left. This is the content of the video that Phil Coulson showed to Zhou Luo. It is also the reason why Zhou Luo is a little anxious. The X plan that created Deadpool is not so humane. But after injecting serum that can activate the potential mutant genes in DNA, it stimulates human potential through various extreme abuses. Thereby mutants' purpose is to mutate human genes. That kind of taste is uncomfortable. Although Zhou Luo has not accepted Harley Quinn, it doesn't mean that he is willing to look at the other party and suffer this kind of suffering. At any rate, the other party is now his own follower. If he doesn't know it, it's fine. So his partner of justice is about to eradicate Dr. Evil and his laboratory. As for Deadpool, will disappear because of this. Don't care about it. Deadpool is just a disfigured man who is talkative and violent. If he is a beautiful woman, I can still think about it soon. Zhou Luo tracked down the X-Weapon laboratory through SH. IDLD and drove over in his classic car. Upon arriving at the destination, Zhou Luo parked the classic car in a hidden place and walked quietly towards the laboratory, only to find that there was no one in the corridor. He walked gropingly out along the corridors. And everything was empty. What's the matter? Did someone divulge my actions? And these people evacuated urgently. A warning sign suddenly rose in Zhou Luo's mind. And he also had more speculations about the identity of the main messenger behind the X-Weapon laboratory. After all, S.H.I.E.L.D. is known as the largest Hydra base. I don't know how many people are actually Hydra. After joining S.H.I.E.L.D. these years, Zhou Luo didn't want to clean up in the past. He just took care of what he found out. Who knew it was? Isn't it just a secret experiment base of Hydra? It was not until Zhou Luo walked to the laboratory that he finally saw the two guards. Two soldiers dressed in black, with weapons hung casually on their bodies, were chatting while smoking cigarettes. By the way, this time we must have made a lot of money, right? The old club won't give us bonuses, it should be. The last time I sold a mutant with electrical discharge capability, I paid a bonus of 100,000 US dollars, so much. Are you new here? This little money is a fart compared to the price of selling those mutants. The real bulk is taken away from the top. We are just drinking some soup. Who is it? Where do I know? And it's better not to ask about this question. If you are known by the boss, you may be sent as a test product someday. Speaking of us, it's really unlucky we have to stay here. Haven't all the test items in it been processed? It seems that there are still 2 unsuccessful results, and further testing and observation are needed. In short, just keep it honestly. Zhou Luo thought for a while, and felt that if Harley Quinn had just been sent here, he would not have been transferred so quickly. So instead of killing him, he used teleportability and went directly into the laboratory. Facing the individual rooms in the laboratory, Zhou Luo was a little dumbfounded. He couldn't help but envy the ability of the big bald head. If he could be like Professor X, he could find Harley Quinn in no time. Convenient. It's a pity that Professor X has been guarding me a long time ago. As long as my camera is pointed at him, we'll avoid Himalayas. There is no other way. Zhou Luo made the Xavier school miserable. Professor X was already lucky if he didn't use his troops to kill him. How could he honestly cooperate with him in taking pictures? Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. After nearly 10 minutes of cranky thinking, Zhou Luo finally found Harley Quinn from a room who was firmly tied to the hospital bed after being anesthetized. Phoenix Force was activated and Harley Quinn's restraints were easily released. Zhou Luo pushed her to his shoulders. On the first fight strode out, now it's Zhou Luo time. When he walked out of the laboratory, he found that the two black-clothed soldiers had disappeared. Several cars were parked there, and a group of dozens of black-clothed soldiers pointed their weapons at her. Francis, the head of the laboratory, and his assistant Angel are looking at him sternly. I didn't expect a little mouse to break in while no one at home. Are you from that Power Xavier school? Or Mutant Brotherhoods? Francis asked Zhou Luo with a grimace. Mutant Brotherhood is the mutant organization established by Magneto. Xavier School and Mutant Brotherhood are the two largest forces in Mutant. Francis has studied Mutant for a long time and has been guarding against retaliation by the Mutant organization. It is not surprising to ask this question. It's a pity that Zhou Luo is not interested in telling him anything. A variant ability is only super speed and agility, and also sacrifices the pain nerve for this mutant. It has no research value at all. Not as valuable as the violent female Angel next to him. Thinking of this, Zhou Luo glanced at Angel and found that she was staring at her with wide eyes, shaking her strong biceps and pectoralis major muscles. Those two are real pectoral muscles. That's enough to compete head-to-head with Ganglish, and even block the muscles of bullets at critical moments. If anyone can surrender this woman, Zhou Luo will really admire it from the bottom of his heart. Oh tilde, as soon as he thought of such a strong woman lying in a man's arms and acting like a baby, Zhou Luo felt pumped out of his stomach and almost didn't vomit out. Sure enough, it's better to pack them up and leave as soon as possible. Zhou Luo quickly shifted his attention and stretched out his right hand. You rubbish, living is also a waste of resources. It is better to report to the goddess of death first. And wait for me to soak Heron, then clean up you, not good. Feeling a deep life crisis, Francis's face changed drastically, and he retreated wildly without hesitation. But his speed in front of Phoenix Force was a joke. Roar. A light red wave spread in all directions, and all the people who were swept by the wave stopped moving. A gust of wind blew by, and the people who froze turned into powder and scattered with the wind. The terrifying Phoenix Force, Zhou Luo exclaimed. Fortunately, only mastered 20% of Jane's power. Otherwise, his unorthodox Phoenix Force would have to lose control. Seeing that all his subordinates, including Angel, disappeared in a single blow, Francis was stunned on the spot. Zhou Luo didn't kill him. He just melted his legs, making him unable to escape. Okay. Now tell me everything you know and I'll give you a good time. How about it? Zhou Luo came up, kicked Francis down, stepped on his chest and asked. This Francis is also a tough guy, so he is still staring at Zhou Luo with big eyes. And he refuses to say a word. Oh, what are you hiding? Zhou Luo was to deal with all kinds of dissatisfaction. He turned his foot over to Francis, and then he kicked Francis as if he had discovered a new world. Well, I know you don't feel the pains, but the feeling is not good. If you don't think about telling what you know, I can still let you join us. Shield. Hey. A weird smile appeared on Francis's face, as if mocking something. Yeah, it seems you know a lot. Zhou Luo stopped and lifted him up with Phoenix Force. No. Zhou Luo's face changed. You. The corners of Francis's mouth twitched again. His expression distorted more severely, and he suddenly laughed wildly as if he couldn't help it. He laughed uncontrollably, tears streaming out, but his expression was painful. Looking at the familiar crazy smile, Zhou Luo fully understood what was wrong. Phoenix Force broke out, dissipating Francis, who was smiling like a lunatic, and Zhou Luo's expression became more serious. Laughing virus Joker to rescue Harley Quinn. Zhou Luo immediately contacted Captain America. Hey Joe, you should really take a look. I have improved my technology now, It's not as good as you, but... As soon as the call was connected, Captain America's chattering voice came over. Wait a minute, Steve, Zhou Luo interrupted him quickly. Listen, I know you practice very well. But now there is a very important thing. What is it? Captain America seldom heard Zhou Luo have such a serious tone. And he became serious in an instant, S-H-I-E-L. D has Hydra people, Hydra is resurrected, what? Captain America was taken aback. Obviously in disbelief with the news. Wait a minute. Are you sure this is not a joke? Today is not April Fool's Day. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. I didn't make a joke with you. Zhou Luo couldn't help snarling. Is it because his cynicism has affected his image in everyone's mind? That's so sad. The call I made with you was through the secret satellite of Stark Industry. The intelligent system of Stark Industry forcibly cracked and blocked the signal monitoring of SHIELD, but it won't last long. Act now, Steve. After saying this, he hung up the phone. He didn't have much time wasting explaining to Captain America. And he believed that Captain America would know what to do. Hanging up, he immediately contacted Batman again. Zhu. There was a clattering sound on the phone, accompanied by the barking and running roar chuck roar chuck. I'm hunting Noto. You have any new ideas to introduce to me? Bruce, I need your help. Hurry up to the Arkham Asylum and see if Joker is still there. I found traces of suspected Joker here, Joker. As soon as he heard the name, Bruce knew the problem was not that simple. And he immediately agreed, okay, I'm going now. How about you? It's safe for the time being. But you know that danger is always hidden in the dark. Joker is a lunatic. No one can guess what he is thinking or what he will do. Joker is not a mutant and he has no super ability. But he is one of Zhou Luo's most fearful people in the world. Because of his brain and crazy thinking that no one can predict what he will do next. Zhou Luo was planning to catch Harley Quinn to a safe place first. But he didn't know where a bunch of people came out and stopped him. These people are ragged and smelly. They turned out to be street beggars everywhere in the slums. They don't know why they gathered here, surrounded Zhou Luo in groups, and kept compressing his activity space. Get off, you bastards, don't stand in my way. The murderous aura flashed in Zhou Luo's eyes. He knew that this was an enemy's trick. Although he was not a good person, he could not kill innocent people indiscriminately. The beggar pained the killers. I'm afraid I can't let you leave like this. A cold voice sounded from behind the beggars, and saw a man in a black robe, not knowing when he appeared on a building not far away. The sign of the 10 Commandments was embroidered on the black robe of this man, and under the hood was a pale white face of a white man. But he had an oriental hair bun which looked quite violent. He wears 2 rings on his hands, one pure white and the other bright reds, exuding obvious mana fluctuations. I wiped it, it turned out to be this one. Zhou Luo was a little surprised when he saw the person here. Others didn't recognize him, but he recognized him at a glance. This person is called Caleb, a disciple of Mandarin and an important leader of 10 Rings. As for why Zhou Luo is so impressed with this guy, it's definitely because of his weird look. I didn't expect this guy to show up here. Could it be that 10 Rings was also involved? Hey, you're the little white face of S.H.I.E.L.D. Looks fine-skinned and tender. I think there must be a lot of people under my staff who will like you. Caleb licked his lips wretchedly, F***K me. He was squeezed in, don't let him run away, damn. Zhou Luo was shocked at the time. This B******D is too shameless. Who wants to be smelly covered in big guys? Without saying anything, Zhou Luo jumped up high and threw Harley Quinn out of the crowd with a relaxed throw, teleporting himself, and then appeared next to Harley Quinn to catch her again. His teleportation can't take other people. Only a slight detour through this method. Where are you going? When Caleb saw that Zhou Luo escaped from his shameless tactics so easily, he was immediately unhappy and hit Zhou Luo with a fireball. "Give it back to you." Zhou Luo stretched out his hand and hit the fireball back like a baseball. Caleb was shocked, but the fireball returned was much faster than before, and he couldn't avoid it at all. As soon as Caleb raised his hand, the ruby ring on his hand emitted a crimson light, and the ball of fire was immediately isolated and dissipated around his body. "Secret ring, this is a good thing." Zhou Luo's eyes lit up, and he looked a little greedy at the ring in Caleb's hand. Mandarin has 10 Lord rings in his body, which are very powerful. He has mastered the skills of making Lord rings through the research of these Lord rings. Definitely, the Lord rings he made are definitely not as good as the 10 in his hands. They are all rewarded by him. Several of his apprentices were given to use as weapons. This Caleb has 2 in his hand, although they are imitations. They seem to be quite powerful. The most important thing is that they are beautiful. It might be an unexpected harvest if they are used as gifts. Thinking of this, Zhou Luo didn't waste time anymore. He shot out with a palm and Phoenix Force broke out. A huge palm print as tall as a locomotive was like a locomotive. Caleb was hit and flew out, hitting him with a bang. The wall is directly pasted into a piece of meatloaf. The kind that can't be pulled off, it's disgusting. Zhou Luo glanced at the meatloaf in disgust, stretched out his hand, and the 2 rings flew out automatically. The filth on them was removed by Phoenix Force, and Zhou Luo happily put the ring into his bag. Strange. This kind of weak chicken dared to provoke me. Is it underestimating my ability? Or is there another conspiracy? Zhou Luo left here with doubts. The far east, oh me lord. The one standing at the bottom tremblingly reported to the person above, Lord Caleb. Dead, HMPH, someone really dared to kill my disciple. It seems that I dormant for too long, making the world forget my names. The man on the throne patted his hands on the armrest and stood up. I want that B******** D to pay the debt. He raised his hands and wore 10 rings on each of his 10 fingers, all emitting different lights. Joe Joker is indeed in the Arkham Asylum. I have asked him to focus on him. Bruce contacted Zhou Luo. I was attacked. Fortunately, I am a rookie. It has been settled. I will come to you now. Be careful, I don't think this is easy. Bruce warned with concern. Don't worry, no one can kill me. Zhou Luo smiled slightly and stepped on the accelerator. Boom, the super classic car drove toward Bruce's manor like an arrow from the string. On the other side, the United States Senate Armed Services Committee. Quiet, quiet. The speaker who held this questioning meeting yelled while knocking on the table with a hammer. If Zhou Luo were here, he would recognize the speaker as a Hydra person. In addition to having played in Iron Man 2, he also appeared in Captain 2 of the United States. Because the battle with the Iron Overlord was too fierce, killing and woundings, in order to appease the United States government and military, Iron Man had to hand over the wreckage of the Iron Overlord to the military in exchange for help concealing the truth. Otherwise, Stark Industries would have killed hundreds of civilians because of its own civil war, which would definitely cause huge amounts of trouble. But Stark is not an honest person. He took down the energy core of the Iron Overlord, and those particularly sensitive technologies. What he gave to the military was just a useless mechanical wreck. When the military scientists have made the research clear, the matter has already ended. So the military can be regarded as a boring loss. This time it is aggressive, and it is bound to dig out a piece of meat from Iron Man's mouth. As for why the question of Stark was initiated, on the surface it was to bring Iron Man under the control of the United States military. But in fact it was seeking this cross-arrow weapon for Hydra. It can only be said that the plan is quite deep. But whether it is the military or Hydra, Stark does not intend to compromise. The speaker first read out the purpose and topics of this questioning meeting, expounding the meaning and threat of the steel armor, the threat to the security of the country and the world, and the significance of putting it in the hands of the military. But he questioned Stark in a serious manner, said, "Mr. Stark, do you have the special high-tech weapon I just described?" Stark laughed. "It depends on how you define weapons." "Steel armor is a weapon," Stark shook his head. "I'm afraid you are wrong. Sermi invention is not a weapon." "Then what is it, as it says in the literal sense?" "It is a piece of clothing, but it happens to be made of steel. And there are many high-tech gadgets installed in it." This remark immediately caused a burst of laughter. "No. It is a weapon, a dangerous military equipment. With a powerful weapon system. However, Tony Stark is not so good. Then please tell me, sir. What weapons are on this steel battle suit? What are the threats? Which rule is violated?" "Speaking of weapons, according to me, as you know, the United States is a country where you can freely own guns. Do you need me to show you my gun certificate?" The speaker was speechless. He didn't know what weapons were on it. "But your armor is a high-tech device driven by a very special energy core. This energy technology is beyond the scope of safety." The speaker stammered and said, he was almost lighting up the arc reaction furnace, "Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running." You said this," Iron Man pointed to his chest. "The purpose of this thing is to maintain my life. So in a strict sense, it is a medical machine. Similar to the effect of a pacemaker. If you need it, I can show you my medical certificate." Iron Man gagged and made the speaker speechless in a few words. But it made the audience laugh happily. Just like the talk show scene. However, the speaker was also well prepared. "Well, I'm not an expert in weapons, so I can't explain some of the questions. But today we invited a few weapons experts to come here. The next summons Justin Hanmo, the current main arms dealer of the Ministry of National Defense, and Norman Osborn, an important business partner of the military. Norman Osborn is Green Goblin in Spider-Man currently. The three arms companies that have the closest relationship with the United States military. Apart from the Stark industry that has withdrawn from the military industry, there are only Hanmo Industry and Osborn Industry. Both of these groups are competitors of Stark Industries. And now they have become the cooperative enterprises of the United States military. Naturality have to work hard for the military's orders. Hanmo Industry wants to promote its own copycat version of steel armor, while Osborn Industry is promoting their product Devil Glider. However, both weapon systems have a demand for energy. If the technology of the arc reactor can be obtained, the level of weapons can definitely be greatly improved." Seeing the two, Stark showed a disdainful expression. "I saw two capitalists walk in, but I did not see the so-called weapon expert." This public ridicule made Justin Hammer smile awkwardly. But Norman Osborn snorted, obviously not convinced. However, the two did not argue with Stark after they went up. They first made a few words with the speaker. And then the two looked at each other. And Justin Hammer picked up a remote control. "Gentlemen, please look at the big screen," as he said. Justin Hanmo gave Tony Stark a provocative look, and then pressed the button against the screen. "Gentlemen, please look at the big screen. This is the image of Iron Man we shot on the scene yesterday." A picture of Iron Man falling from the sky appeared on the screen. He pointed to the nozzle and said, "This is an ion cannon. It is theoretically still an experimental weapon. But it is clear that Mr. Stark's technology is higher and it has been implemented. Installed and this the missile launcher. Do you see the leaky interface here? You can miniaturize the missile to this level. I have to say, Mr. Stark, you are a genius. And the most obvious is that the weapon is not because miniaturization reduces power." As he spoke, an author scene was brought up. But it was the scene of Stark blowing up a tank with a missile. Seeing that its shoulders have obvious convex contours. It is a mini-gun supported by the fire control system. It can lock and destroy more than 10 targets within 2 seconds. It is very powerful. Justin Hanmo has analyzed the various equipment of Iron Man well. And finally concluded, so there is no doubt that Iron Man is a weapon. And it is also a very powerful weapon. It is better than the current market. All weapons are dangerous. Even more dangerous than nuclear weapons, after all. Nuclear weapons are defensible. But Iron Man is difficult to defend, Mr. Stark has built a peerless sword. But he insists that it is just a shield. But obviously this is not true. It is for the benefit of the people. Justin Hammer suddenly looked at Iron Man with a very affectionate gaze. Tony, you should make the right choice. This tone sounded as if he had a strong relationship with Stark. Norman Osborn also stood up. Mr. Hammer is right. Iron Man is too dangerous. Especially when he exists only in the hands of a private person. It is like a nuclear weapon if owned by a person. No matter how much he noble is not allowed. Without supervision, who knows what will happen? I agree with Mr. Justin's words when Norman Osborn spoke. His face was solemn, an expression of worrying about the country and the people. And his predecessor's tone of earnestness, which really made Tony Stark annoyed. He was about to open his mouth to defend. But the speaker asked first, as if after discussing it, this Mr. Justin Hammer seems to be very familiar with Iron Man. Then do you know Mr. Tony before? Yes, I used to be a researcher at Stark Industries. So why did you leave? Because I accidentally discovered some very sensitive secrets of Stark Industries. I was afraid of accidents and dangers. And I didn't want to continue working in such a company. So I left. Although I didn't say it clearly, the meaning was obvious. I was afraid of being silenced. Stark was almost furious. But he was angry. His face became calmer. And he was thinking about how to solve the trouble in front of him. At this moment there was a commotion behind the auditorium. Several spectators who had been sitting in the auditorium suddenly stood up from their seats and rushed towards the podium. This was so abrupt that the people on the stage reacted until these people were about to rush to the front of the stage. Among these people were soldiers in military uniforms, successful people in suits, and even 2 reporters attending the conference. A total of 5 people. They took out their weapons almost at the same time. And one of them even shouted, "Tenchu Hydra." Holding a machine gun suddenly slammed into the podium. Everyone realized that these people were not good at coming. It's no wonder that the people in the hall are not guarded. As the place where the military committee holds meetings, it can be described as a place where security is tight. There are detection systems for entry and exit. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible to bring weapons in. Unfortunately, they can't prevent people from inside. Seeing the densely packed bullets coming over, everyone on the summit stage fled in embarrassment, but was instantly killed and wounded. Especially the speaker, because it was the main goal to stand up, and was sieved by the fire. The scene was suddenly chaotic. At the same time, a woman suddenly took out a pistol behind Iron Man and shot it at Pepper without warning. Unexpectedly, Stark reacted very quickly. He turned around and took Pepper in his arms, and hit Stark all 3 shots on the back. The guard next to him pulled out his gun and wanted to fight back. However, there were too many people in the venue at the moment. At this moment, one of the attackers threw the weapon in his hand, slammed his handstand with a loud boom. Huge amounts of shockwaves shattered the auditorium, and the surrounding people were shocked with a bang. It was like a thunder in the ground. Huge amounts of shockwaves shocked the auditorium in a mess. This product turned out to be a mutant, with a special ability that releases sound waves. The lethality of this sonic ability is not very strong, but the momentum is surprisingly amazing, especially in this kind of indoor environment. This blow almost turned half of the participants on their backs. "Ha ha ha, let you call again." The man looked at the messy auditorium and shouted excitedly, and then suddenly felt the sound of the wind behind him. When he turned around, Green Goblin had already rushed in front of him. And a Green Goblin had his heart out, just stuck in his heart with a sound of psst. Norman Osborn's 5 fingers were deeply inserted into this mutant's chest. Apart from the sonic ability, this man was essentially an ordinary person, and was actually inserted by Green Goblin's bare hands. There was only one mob who would rush in, and the surrounding guards rushed in quickly and surrounded the spoilers. Let down your weapons, surrender immediately. Facing the sight of dozens of gunpoints, the man went crazy and roared for mutant. Pulling on his clothes revealed the explosives tied up on his body. Boom, there was a violent explosion, and the entire venue was filled with smoke and flames. Rescuers arrived quickly and brought all the injured people closer to the hospital. It included Tony Stark and Pepper. There was no way. Stark's steel battle suit is still relatively backward, and it has not developed to a dangerous automatic rescue in the later period. But his luck was very good. 3 shots and explosions didn't kill him. It just made him unconscious and had to lie down in the hospital for a long time. After repeated searches did not find any accomplices of the attacker. The military could only release the uninjured people from the venue. The fortunate attendees talked a lot. Gosh, who are those people? It's crazy. Why do those assassins say that the speaker is Hydra? Didn't Hydras have been wiped out during World War II? Did you hear them yelling? Still yelling for mutant. It must be those mutant freaks. Who knows, mutant are crazy people. This attack came to an end, but the storm it set off was getting bigger and bigger. Bruce. Zhou Luo has rushed to Batman's house and handed Harley Quinn to Alfred. Please take care of her for me, thank you, Zhou. Batman greeted him with a serious face, a very bad news. The Senate Armed Services Committee was attacked. Your friend Tony Stark was attacked, he is not out of danger. Their conspiracy has begun, Zhou Luo smiled. Just as he was about to say something, another call came in suddenly. Oh, please don't let me hear bad news again. Zhou Luo saw that Alice was calling and his heart sank. Joe, where are you? Chin is gone. Alice's cries intermittently came from the phone. With a bit of panic in her voice, Chin Jerry. Phoenix Force, damn it. Zhou Luo covered his face with one hand. What the hell is going on, Wu? Stryker led the army to surround the school and arrest us an hour ago. Jin is fighting the army, Stryker. How could he get in at this time? Zhou Luo couldn't delay any longer. The enemy had already made a net-like layout. At the moment, there was no other way but to break the game. I'll go to Xavier school right away, now only I can stop Chin. Zhou Luo hung up the phone after speaking. The out-of-control Chin burst into Phoenix Force with all its strength. Even if it destroys the world, it is only a matter of time. If you want to prevent her from getting close to her Zhou Luo, who also owns a part of Phoenix Force, is the best candidate. And Zhou Luo is confident that he can wake up. If he can't even achieve Chin's bright personality, I'm afraid no one in this world can do it. Gotham City is also in chaos at this time. Bruce, who had become Batman, walked out, the double-faced man. The Riddleth Scarecrow. These guys are conducting terrorist operations all over Gotham City at the same time as if they had negotiated. It seems we are going to fight separately this time. Zhou Luo said. Bruce, I told you that this kind of soft violence can't solve the problem of Gotham City. If you want to change Gotham City, you have to be a little bit ruthless once and for all. No, I don't have the right to take their lives. The law has it, Batman said solemnly. If Batman kills someone, then he won't be Batman anymore. Zhou Luo sighed. He knew that his friend's stubbornness and determination were impossible to convince him in a few words. And he didn't have time to make a long discussion with Batman now. After placing Harley Quinn here, he rushed to Xavier Academy as quickly as possible. Why did General Stryker raid Xavier School? Zhou Luo contacted Alice again. Also, how is the school now? The Stryker's army has retreated. The entire school is blocked by Phoenix Force. People outside can't get in and people inside can't get out. The professor and Chin have formed a storm in the confrontation. No one can approach there. That means it has stabilized for the time being. Zhou Luo breathed a sigh of relief, fortunately. The big bald head did not disappoint him. At least there will be no unnecessary sacrifices before he arrives at Xavier School. Just why Stryker attacked Xavier School, Alice didn't know. Zhou Luo is also very puzzled. After Aleph, it can be approved. Stryker must have already started it. How could it be approved without warnings? With full of puzzlement, Zhou Luo felt the Xavier school. He saw a huge amounts of energy field covering the Xavier school far away. And the surrounding space was slightly distorted. It's a powerful Phoenix Force system. If you say yes, I get 20% strength Phoenix Force. Why do I feel that I don't even have 1/10 of the power? The system was quiet and Zhou Luo was ignored. Damn. You chicken thief system. Wait for me to settle this matter and then find your trouble. Zhou Luo parked the car at the boundary of the energy field. Also enveloped the Phoenix Force. Easily crossed that boundary and entered Xavier. Inside the school, Zhu. His figure was immediately found. And Alice and Zio Naughty ran over with joy. Zhu. You are finally here. Seeing the tears on the faces of the two women, Zhou Luo quickly comforted them with his arms in his arms and said, I'll go see Qin and Professor. Under the leadership of Alice, Zhou Luo came to the center of the energy field, where the space has been completely distorted, forming a terrifying energy field like a black hole, where even light cannot exist. I'm in. Zhou Luo took a deep breath and strode in. Zhu. Both Alice and Little Naughty looked worried and watched Zhou Luo walk in. Before that, they had tried to go in and see what was going on. But no one could go in. Just getting close was enough to bring it. Human lives are in danger. Zhou Luo relied on the Phoenix Force body protection and slowly walked into it and saw Professor X and Phoenix in the distortion and darkness. No, it should be called Dark Phoenix at this time, Qin. Zhou Luo yelled, attracting the attention of the two confronting each other. Zhu, how did you get in? Professor X was taken aback. He didn't expect Zhou Luo, a man who had never shown any special abilities, to step into their battlefield. It's you, the mortal who stole Phoenix Force. Dark Phoenix's voice sounded full of hollowness and majesty, which was nothing like Qin Jilei. You carry power from another world, like a disgusting parasite bit by bit, eating away and stealing the origin of this world. Dark Phoenix's voice suddenly became extremely angry. He opened his palm to face Zhou Luo, and suddenly a terrible energy rushed towards Zhou Luo. Damn, Zhou Luo teleported, avoiding the terrifying blow. And the terrible fluctuations that passed him had already made him startled. Qin, wake up, don't let the darkness dominate your mind. Zhou Luo took the opportunity to shout, Dark. No, I am the source, Dark Phoenix shouted. This can't be done. Qin Dio's consciousness has fallen into a deep sleep, and she can't hear you calling like this. Charles in the wheelchair reminded Zhou Luo anxiously. Then what do you say? Why wake up the piano? Dark Phoenix's voice carried an invisible attack. Have you not noticed her pain, her sorrow, Charles? You have been sealing me since you were a child. Don't you feel guilty? What are you afraid of? Professor X fell into a rare silence. Don't talk nonsense. Let's talk about how to wake up the Qin. Zhou Luo was very anxious. When are they still discussing these useless things? He is confident in his charm as long as he is a woman. It is impossible to escape his clutches. But Dark Phoenix dismisses him, indicating that Dark Phoenix does not essentially have the concept of gender. Think about it. Dark Phoenix is a personality born based on Phoenix Force, one of the origins of the universe. Where does the love S*X come from? After being silent for a while, Charles opened his mouth and said, there is only one way. I will send you into the spiritual space of Qin, and you will wake her up, but you may be in danger. Okay. Zhou Luo didn't even listen to him and agreed, don't worry. The daylily will be cold after hesitation. You are wishful thinking, Dark Phoenix laughed loudly. Phoenix Force set off a storm, and then was blocked by Charles's mental power. Quick, it's now, Charles yelled. Zhou Luo suddenly felt a powerful mental force rushing into his brain. Without the slightest hesitation, he let the mental force engulf him and rushed into an unknown place. He saw a sleeping figure there. It was Qin Jilei. Zhou Luo hugged the sleeping Qin and called out loudly. Qin, wake up. When Zhou Luo entered the world of Qin's consciousness, The violent Phoenix force and mental agitation in the outside world suddenly calmed down. And the waves were calm. Do you know what you are doing, Charles? Dark Phoenix is no longer crazy. Looking at Professor X with a calm face. I don't know what the future holds. Charles shook his head and sighed, at least it's safe now. A hypocrite. Your beautiful dream will eventually lead to destruction of this universe. I am waiting to see what your face will look like when that day comes. Dark Phoenix suddenly smiled. But his smile was full of unwillingness. I'm waiting for that day. The majestic Phoenix force around him began to shrink and all poured into Chin's body. Chin closed his eyes and lowered his head. And his body gradually fell from the air. Zhou Luo, who was just like a clay sculpture, suddenly opened his eyes and rushed to hug the fallen piano. Chin, he shouted. Zhu. Chin Jerry looked at him, smiled, and then fell asleep again. The Phoenix force surrounding the entire Xavier school has all disappeared. And Charles has also recovered his own bottomless mental power like the ocean. And his face is a bit tired. Charles, how are you? Zhou Luo hugged Phoenix, wanting to see if Professor X has any extra power. And if he can help in the next action. I don't have any problems. It's just that maybe the school is going to take a break for a while. Charles pushed his wheelchair and walked out. Why did Stryker raid Xavier School? Because my old friend, Charles sighed. He invented a machine that can mutate genes for ordinary people and turned a congressman who opposed mutant into mutant. But this machine is not perfect. That congressman is now dead. Stryker saw the opportunity from this and applied to the Congress for an order to arrest and control mutant. Zhou Luo suddenly realized that the MP who became mutant was not the beginning of X-Men 1. Yes, no, Eric, what he has to do is more than that simple. Charles's face suddenly changed as if he saw something. Zhao must go to Manhattan right away to stop Magneto. At 6:30 in the afternoon during the rush hour, Manhattan, and Cosmopolitan City, was constantly moving through traffic. Sharp horns reverberated over the streets, and cars were driving on the congested road like water droplets into the river. Peter is riding a newly bought electric car, holding a bouquet of delicate roses in his hand, and stopping at a crossroads waiting for a red light. The young Spider-Man seems to be running from time to time recently, and his work has made great progress. Mary Jane and Jane he has been pursuing my relationship has been greatly shortened. And everything is full of light. Looking down and sniffing the fragrance of roses, Peter couldn't help smiling with satisfaction. This is a surprise for Mary Jane today. The other party will perform their first stage performance in a small theater. For this date, Peter specially booked a Michelin 5-star French restaurant in advance to prepare for a wonderful candlelight dinner to win the joy and joy of the goddess in his dream. Roarful of longing, Peter found that his beloved little sheep swayed suddenly, as if being pulled by an invisible force, got rid of his control and floated out of thin air. What's going on? Wait, my new car. Before Peter finished speaking, he heard screams one after another like the waves swaying. The brand new little sheep that was just bought, as if controlled by an invisible big hand, automatically disintegrated in the air and turned into countless pieces of metal. The fragments floated upwards. It's not just Peter who has encountered this kind of weird incident. The vehicles parked at the intersection are all like this. The young Spider-Man personally watched a car next to him. In just a few seconds, the body broke into pieces. Wrapped in the chassis and engine floating in the air, flew into the sky together, leaving only the owner holding the steering wheel, looking blankly at the car that was leaving the ground. Peter didn't have time to take care of the beloved lamb who was dismembered. He looked up at the metal frenzy in the sky like a turbulent storm, flying in a certain direction, a looming figure standing in the air, with metal stairs standing in front of him. The foot of the opponent was born out of thin air, and the other party appeared on the stage in such a sensational way. Mutant, Peter thought in his mind, raising the camera subconsciously. The streets are like boiling oil pans. People abandon their cars and run away, screaming incessantly, panic spreading like a wave. Peter glanced at the delicate rose in his hand and couldn't help sighing in frustration. It seemed that he was about to miss the appointment again this time. He had a headache when he thought of Mary Jane questioning him angrily. The metal tornado hovered roar in the sky. Magneto wore a helmet and a purple robe, hunting and flying. His majestic face revealed a chilling chill. He stepped on a metal ladder and walked in the air like an invincible king. The mighty metal frenzy like his own subjects. Obeyed the call. Magneto opened his hands as if he was waving an invisible baton. The entire block of cars soared into the sky like a long dragon. And even the street lights and trash cans on the side of the street were not let go. Almost all objects with metallic properties were affected by this. The forces of manipulation and pulling. One after another disintegrated and merged into the tornado storm that obscured the sky and the sun. Looking at the Watsonton Tower standing in the center of the city, Magneto looked cold. He originally planned to attack Liberty Island and transform the dignitaries of various countries who came to participate in the summit of high-end heads of state into mutant in one fell swoop, hoping to change the world pattern and let his compatriots own one. A new and free future. But at this time, he suddenly got some information. It was Watsonton Pharmaceuticals secretly using mutant to conduct human experiments. Those bloody and cruel photos completely angered the mutant leader and made him recall the dark past buried deep in his heart. Being locked in a cold and humid concentration camp. There are people constantly dying every day. And the painful memories that fade into old photos suddenly emerge clearly. Mystique Raven also suggested that if you want to declare the power of mutant to the world, you might as well take Watsonton and attack the politicians of Liberty Island. This will only make the situation of your compatriots worse, and even arouse the overreaction of the human world. Launch a full-scale war, and the situation will never be restored. After careful consideration, Magneto finally accepted this proposal. Although mutant had outstanding ability, it was split into two camps like scattered sand, unable to directly confront the deep-rooted and powerful human government. Thisvan, if you are as proud as Magneto, you have to admit that mutants' own power alone cannot overthrow the rule of mankind. Unless his old friend Charles is willing to stand on his side and no longer hold the ridiculous stubbornness. Peace concept with his thoughts flying. The mutant leader waved his hand, and the floor-to-ceiling windows at the top of the Watsonton building shattered, and glass shards fell like rain. Magneto stepped onto the metal stairs and walked straight into the building's owner, Marcus Watsonton's office. This famous business crocodile, because his son is mutant, has always had a deep hatred of mutants. He secretly cooperated with General Stryker, and later developed the famous mutant inhibitor, which made Magneto and Professor X so powerful. All mutants lost their power for a while. You use my compatriots to conduct those brutal, bloody experiments. Magneto's voice was high and his eyes were sharp. He looked at Marcus Watsonton with a face full of fear, and couldn't help but think of the Nazi officers in the concentration camp. The dark past and painful memoirs like a tide broke through the gates of memory in his mind. It is because of someone like you that I lead Brotherhood on a completely different path from Charles. Magneto's fingers moved slightly, and the floating metal turned into a firm noose, which was wrapped around Marcus's neck. Watsonton's helm kept struggling back, but it was useless. From today's world will no longer ignore mutant's voice. Everyone will know that we are not weak and weak lambs. If humans want war, then mutant will rise up. Magneto shouted loudly. He strode out of Watsonton and stood in the void, under the control of the invisible hand. The floating metal frenzy, like a candle melted by high temperature, condensed into a huge steel cross with a loud bang, slammed deeply into the ground, and the concrete pavement opened with fine cracks. Magneto, who played with the big Cena, stood at the top of the cross. His arms moved, and Marcus, who was tied up by the metal noose, shouted roar to rescue. Unfortunately, the police who arrived did not dare to move, but pointed the gun at the majestic man's silhouette. Magneto stood on a steel cross inserted into the ground. Marcus was hung in the air by a metal noose. his legs kicking constantly, trying to break free from the tight shackles. The purple robes were flying in the wind. Magneto looked down at the police cars surrounded by them, and the special forces who came after receiving the rescue signal. There was no fear in his eyes, but full of contempt. "Ask for flowers. Useless humans and weapons," he snorted softly, raising his hand slightly. All the guns held by the policemen flew out, then turned their heads pointed at the former holder, and looked at the muzzle of the black hole. Everyone was frightened and afraid to move, for fear of one accident. The bullet will rush out of the gun and take his own life. "Have you seen? The reason why you reject us and hate us is only because mutant is better than human beings. You are afraid of being taken away from the supreme power that governs this planet. Look at these people when they are holding guns. They think they have a sense of security. But when they find that the guns have lost their original function, they start to panic and fear." Zero. Through the micro speakers at the neckline, Magneto's voice resounded between the world, like a loud and thick horn shaking everyone's will. "The law in nature is natural selection and survival of the fittest. This world will always belong to those pioneers who are at the forefront of evolution. The planet was initially occupied by primitive bacteria, then covered by lower plants, and later relatively advanced coniferous plants followed by seed plants. After marine life came to land, they were long extinct dinosaurs. And finally, humans evolved from ancient apes." Magneto changed the proud and domineering image of the past, but instead gave an impassioned speech like a scholar he had long been expecting, a sensational official appearance, so that those mutants hidden in human society would throw themselves into the embrace of brotherhood. A manuscript written in advance is enough to win more support from fellow citizens. After years of fighting against his friend Charles, he finally figured out that only mutants, who was the first to split into different camps, could overthrow the rule of mankind and build his own beautiful homeland. The reason why human beings can dominate this beautiful planet is precisely because they can always adapt to the harsh environment and complete their own evolution through learning and change. Enter with the progress of the times. Nuclear dust spread all over the planet, and a brand new race was born from among human beings. You call Roar mutant an excellent race with exceptional ability due to genetic mutations. Numerous news media rushed to record this scene faithfully and broadcast it to the televisions of thousands of households in the form of live broadcast. Magneto was even more proud when he saw it. His purpose is exactly this. Mutant has been hiding in Tibet for too long. It is time for a powerful leader to ascend Roar and lead his compatriots to a better future. Charles only wants to be a bright beacon to guide mutants' direction. But the suffering compatriots need a firm-willed and fearless iron-blooded leader to lead mutant out of the thorny road of freedom. He is not like a good friend from a rich family. He is always biased towards the human side. Magneto has never been merciful to humans who are hostile to mutant. My fellow citizens, starting from today, you no longer need to hide from Tibet and endure the strange eyes of others. Mutant is not a freak, nor is it deformed. We are better evolvers, abandoning the inner hesitation and return to come in the ranks of compatriots. There will be no oasis of freedom and justice in this world. Those humans will only send you to the operating table, dissecting your body with a cold scalpel, or lock you in an iron cage as a plaything for viewing and entertainment. A beautiful future will not come out of thin air. If you want to cut the stone of hope from the ridge of despair, if you want to rise in the valley and fall in the mountains, the bumpy and tortuous road becomes a smooth road. All of these need to be fought for by ourselves, to show the inherent ability, to let humans understand the power of mutant, and let them know that every time a mutant is captured, a heavy price will be paid hundreds of times. There is no tolerance and peace in this world, and it is everywhere. Those in power wantonly torture the disadvantaged groups. Mutant can no longer remain silent. Today I will execute a righteous judgment for God. Magneto turned his head and looked at Mystique's group of people coming out of Watsonton building. He waved his arms heavily. as if he had been affected by some kind of induction. Standing inside the skyscraper in the center of Manhattan, there was a loud noise and turbulent airwaves. As the smoke rushed out, the glass windows of the entire building shattered and shattered. Amidst the astonishing sound of blasting, the solid building shook like a mountain peak, and countless bricks and rubble fell like a torrential rain, and a thick smoke rose up into the sky. Like a mountain crumbled and slumped. A large piece of reinforced concrete fell with billowing smoke and dust, slamming heavily on the car parked below, and the metal roof of the car was immediately crushed into scrap iron. Intense flames emerged from the inside of the building, and people fled from the building one after another. Like a panic colony of ants, the innocent people trapped on the floor by the spreading fire desperately roar, yelling for help, trying to get the help of others. The combustible materials in the building were detonated, and there were a series of huge bangs. Bricks, gravel, and glass fragments were scattered from high above like raindrops. People were crying and screaming, as if the end of the world had come. The scene was chaotic to the extreme for a while. When everyone was desperate, a flexible figure wearing a red tights quickly walked through more and more falling objects, spitting out tough cobwebs, using his extraordinary ability to save those trapped. Innocent Spider-Man. Many people recognize this as that good neighbor in New York, who often fights criminals in Queens. Spider-Man flexibly climbed and jumped between high-rise buildings, like Tarzan, using agile movements to rescue innocent people one after another. "Help me!" a Watsonton employee shouted from the edge of the collapsed building. Before he could escape, he was trapped in the floor that would collapse at any time. Hearing Roar's call for help, Spider-Man naturally wouldn't turn a blind eye. The strong cobweb spurted out of his hand, and he swayed in the air with his force, reaching out to grab the opponents. Who would have thought that the person suddenly felt weightless? And he stood on the floor under his feet. Split, and instantly the whole body fell. Spider-Man hurriedly shot a cobweb and stuck it on the opponent's body. At the same time, he fisted and flew a few pieces of fallen reinforced concrete, rescuing the shocked Watsonton employee. The intense flames are still spreading wantonly, like an arrogant dancing devil, taking away a strip of fresh lives. Seeing a few silhouettes swallowed by flames, Peter, who can do nothing, feels a little bit self-blame and sad. Glancing to act as the superhero, the Spider-Man who saves the masses, Magneto withdraws his gaze indifferently. The other party is not mutants, and he has no interest in paying attention to the super ability beyond his compatriots. The people of Brotherhood climbed the steel cross along the metal ladder and stood behind Magneto. This is the first time that mutant has appeared in such a grand way since the Cuban Missile Crisis and appeared in front of the world. There was an intensive shutter sound. The Flash was constantly moving, and the news reporter excitedly shot the appropriate material for tomorrow's headline layout. "This world is cruel. Only the strong are qualified to survive. Human beings are the losers on the evolutionary road. And mutant is the future." Following Magneto's declaration, Marcus Watsonton, who was suspended in the air, was fixed on the steel cross standing on the ground. The capitalist, who vaguely felt that his life was threatened, shouted roar to the police and special forces below to save him. But unfortunately not. People can provide him with a little help, and the guns floating in the air are aimed at these people's heads. No one will come to save you. They fear me just as they usually fear your money and power. Magneto said lightly, "This is a righteous trial. This is how you treat my compatriots. You tie them to the operating table. Use a scalpel to dissect their bodies. Or take blood slices and make living specimens. Cruel experiment. Your behavior reminds me of bad memories from the past. And those Nazi officers treated me the same way." Hearing the cold words full of killing intent, Marcus's voice trembled and defended, "No. You misunderstood. I just want to help you. Eliminate the stubborn curse in your body, and let you return to a normal life." Ha! Magneto sneered. and said contemptuously, "Mutant doesn't need anyone to heal. We are a better evolutionary race. Far better than human beings." He opened his hand, the sharp spikes shining with the cold rays of the forest. Like long nails pierced into Marcus's body. Blood flowed down the steel cross. Scarlet colors mixed with the coldness of metal. And on the other side it looks like a crucifixion, revealing a religious cruel beauty. With Marcus's scream of pain and weakness, Magneto completed this so-called justice trial. The faces of the policemen who were supposed to protect the safety of the citizens were flushed. An angry blood rushed to their brains. Damn mutant. Injury an old man who has no resistance to ability. What kind of ability is this? When you slaughtered my compatriots, why didn't you think that they were also innocent victims? Magneto smiled contemptuously, relaxed his control of the guns, and allowed the police to take back the guns. The performance was almost over, and it was time for a successful curtain call. The police officer who got the gun seemed to feel a little more secure. A certain police officer who was so angry that he pulled the trigger frantically. As the first gunshot erupted, the other people who were frightened also drove away. The gun raindrops of metal bullets shot towards Mutant on the steel cross. Magneto smiled triumphantly as if he had expected it, slightly stretched out his hand to release an invisible force. Hundreds of bullets were frozen in the air, as if blocked by a transparent wall. The first to use violence will be punished by violence. The mutant leader snorted softly, and the metal bullets followed Magneto 27's orders, turning directions one after another, and aimed at the astonished policemen. Today will be the beginning of a new future for mutants. Magneto shouted, slogan-swathed his arms heavily, and countless bullets screamed at the police roar below like a torrential rain. The reporter holding the cameras, as well as the citizens sitting in front of the TV, couldn't bear to close their eyes, and roar shouted loudly in their hearts, "Who will stop this?" After a few seconds of silence, the expected bloody scene did not occur, and the metal bullet from the lasing was blocked, as if it were frozen in the air. Magneto noticed an invisible resistance blocking the bullets. He instantly remembered an old friend he hadn't seen for many years. As soon as a warning sign rose in his heart, a powerful arm strangled his neck. Sabretooth Victor's brain was not working well, so he was easily controlled by Professor X. He pinched the Brotherhood leader's neck, and with a little effort could break the old man's head. When Mystique saw Thish reacted immediately. But before he could do anything, Toad stared at her and said, "You better keep quiet. Raven, Eric, you have done enough today, let them go." Sabretooth Victor's eyes were hollow, as if he was occupied by another person. The situation immediately reversed. Magneto, whose life was threatened, stood on the steel cross and glanced around. He shouted, "Charles, I know you are here. Why don't you stand up and meet me?" In a black car at the intersection of the street, Professor X had complicated ice, but he never showed up. Just sighed, "If you want to save them, you have to kill me first." Magneto had no fear in his eyes. He raised his head and said, "Charles, haven't you given up on the real ideal that day? What is the point of saving these humans? They will pass. Register the bill, put a mark on your forehead, and then monitor it as an alien or a monster. As long as you dare to show your claws to them a little, what awaits you will be endless prison life. It won't be like that. We can wait for peace to come." Words of exhortation came from Sabretooth Victor's mouth. Magneto showed a sneer. He and Charles had been confronting each other for decades in this endless argument. In the end, no one could persuade each other. They could only break up, okay, then try with a bang. Gunshots echoed through the street, and a metal bullet stopped on the forehead of Police Chief George, almost able to penetrate his head. "Joe, it looks like you need to be on the stage." Professor X frowned and looked at Zhou Luo next to him. "Eric is too stubborn. I can't convince him. It's time for me to take action." Zhou Luo grinned grinningly, opened the car door and jumped into the air. Sabretooth Victor, who was manipulated thinking, and Toad the leper suddenly seemed to wake up from a dream. their eyes full of confusion, completely forgetting what had just happened. But the next moment they saw Zhou Luo flying over, and their astonishment became vigilant in the next second. "It's you," Sabretooth roared with a weak head, and tried to jump in midair and pounce on Zhou Luo. K me, I'm not interested in men. Zhou Luo lost his face and shockwaved his big hand, slapped Sabretooth in the air, and crashed into the ruins of Watsonton building. With mutants' physique, this impact would not do much harm to him. If it's Raven, it's okay. A big 5'3" ugly man will pounce at you as soon as he meets him. Who can stand it? Zhou Luo wiped the sweat that didn't exist on his forehead and approached Magneto. "Magneto, do you want to attack on Watsonton building?" Magneto gritted his teeth and glared at Zhou Luo. "You despicable liar, shameless B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** again. Zhou Luo touched his nose in embarrassment. It seems that some of his bad experiences with Magneto made Magneto have a big misunderstanding of him. Well, you don't say it. But someone should be willing to say it. Zhou Luo shrugged and looked at Mystique Raven behind Magneto. Unexpectedly, Mystique and Magneto gritted their teeth at Zhou Luo. Joe. You be asterisk 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 do you still remember me, M. Zhou Luo laughed dryly. Don't be like this, Raven. We broke up peacefully. The peaceful breakup you mean is to leave without saying a word and never contact me again. Raven's skin is constantly undergoing amorphous changes, which means that her emotional ups and downs are very intense. Raven listened to my explanation. I left quietly because I was targeted by a mysterious organization. In order not to bring you dangers. You can see that I have solved the trouble now. Not the first time I came to you, is it? Zhou Luo lied without blushing and heartbeat. What kind of mysterious organization can make you worry that even Mutant Brotherhood dare not provoke? How can I know that Raven ruthlessly punctured his scam? And I think you did not solve the trouble at all, but came with trouble barred. Raven, let's go. Don't waste our tongue with this B asterisk 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 D. Magneto glanced at Zhou Luo coldly and turned around to take someone away. Wait for E, I didn't joke with you. A big conspiracy is slowly emerging. And Mutant has also been swept in, Magneto, don't you know? Xavier School has just been attacked. A perman from an alien or the doctors. Manhattan, who is no longer on Earth's. It's the United States military. Sabretooth crawled out of the ruins with a serious expression and hollow eyes. He was controlled by Professor X again. I knew it would be them. Magneto suddenly became furious. Charles, you believe in them again and again because of you. The result is only deeper deception and hurt again and again. Looking at the angry look of his old friend Charles, who was in the car, had a smile on his face. He knew that this was just a way for his tough old friend to express his concern for him. Eric, these may be left to talk about later. But now we have to solve the problems in front of us and come back to Xavier School with me. Upon receiving an unexpected invitation, even Magneto couldn't help but be stunned. A somewhat complicated look appeared in his eyes and nodded. Okay, since the two parted ways that year. He has never been to the school they both founded together. So it was an anonymous person who sent you the information about Watsonton's experiment with Mutant. So you decided to take Watsonton's operation. Zhou Luo is looking at the information obtained by Magneto, which contains the terrible photos. Zhou Luo couldn't bear to look directly. It seems that there is indeed an invisible hand pushing behind this incident. Eric, you have also been used, Professor X sighed. I'm doing what I should do. The stubborn old man did not want to admit the fact that he was being used. Watsonton's experiment with Mutant does exist. And I must not let him continue, yes, but not now. Zhou Luo retorted faintly. If we can find out who sent this email, it might be of great help to us. JARVIS could help to do it. Unfortunately, Stark was attacked. No roadworks anymore. Letter 2C7, Zhou Luo was a little disappointed. He couldn't mobilize JARVIS using SHIEL. D's resources to investigate is even more fantastic. Maybe this was done by the senior management of SHIEL. D, just thinking of this, Zhou Luo received the message. And when he opened it, it was actually sent by his master Black Widow. Joe, run away, the farther the better. It was just a short line of words. But the urgency of Black Widow could be seen between the lines, which made Zhou Luo's heart tight. What happened? Fortunately is now at Xavier school. And there is a group of mutants around him who are enough to help him. Zhou Luo quickly got the news through Professor X's intelligence channel. SHIEL. D Chief Nick Fury suffered a terrorist attack and his whereabouts are unknown. Captain America has become the biggest suspect and is now wanted. According to the footage taken at the scene, the leader of the terrorist attack was a dead soul who has been dead for many years, the Winter Soldier. A good friend of Captain America Winter Soldier Bucky. Hydra has finally started. Zhou Luo couldn't help taking a breath. All the plots rushed out like a race. And many big events appeared ahead of time, Hydra and SHIEL. The contradiction between mutant and human beings. The terrorist actions of 10 Rings. The turmoil in Gotham City. Anything that is not handled properly can cause enough trouble. And these things broke out together. Enough to cause a terrible turmoil. I think our big trouble has really come. Looking at everyone around him, Zhou Luo showed a rare wry smile on his face. The night was deep. Looking at the twinkling stars outside the window, Alexander Pierce sighed, took the iced whiskey on the table and drank it. It is hard to imagine that this ordinary-looking, middle-aged man who looks like a government official has served as the former director of SHIEL. D and is currently an important leader of the National Security Department. He has countless dazzling auras. It was he who personally appointed Nick Fury as the next director. And for SHIEL, D to block many criticisms from Congress and the White House. But who can imagine that Alexander Pierce, who is under those glorious images and prominent status, actually has a real face that surprises everyone? Operation Winter Soldier failed, and the full operation has officially begun. Pierce dropped the headset indifferently and issued the last command. Following his order, the evil organization hidden behind the scenes began to operate tensely and orderly, abandoning the mask that had been concealed for many years, and showing sharp fangs to the entire world. Who is going crazy enough to attack the Senate Armed Services Committee? Are the stupid energy giants frightened by Stark Industries' expansion plan? Or are the rats hiding in the stinking gutter starting to move again? Pierce complained helplessly. He, who had been hiding inside S.H.I.E.L.D., knew how much Nick Fury valued Tony Stark. This was not just for the extra care of the son of the deceased, but the Black Chief who really followed him. The Playboy saw immeasurable value in him. It was just a terrorist attack. Tony Stark was seriously injured. Nick Fury, who had a keen sense of smell, quickly discovered what was wrong and found out a lot of truth at an unimaginable speed. Forced by Alexander Pierce, he can only take action when he is not fully prepared, and get rid of him before Nick Fury has thoroughly investigated all the secrets. It's just that I didn't expect another Captain America to emerge from the 10-and-1 assassination. But it doesn't matter anymore. Things have come to this point. The mysterious organization that is parasitic on SHIEL. D's body, the King of Kyans, derives nourishment, is ready to face the entire world. After a long time of waiting, the world is about to usher in a new era. Pierce's eyes flashed with enthusiasm, and words full of ambition and craziness quietly echoed in the room. Cut off one head and grow 2 more heads, Hydra hail. What are you going to do? Professor X asked Zhou Luo. This young man with a throbbing heart can always bring him unexpected surprises. Zhou Luo touched his chin and slowly muttered. Someone attracted my attention through a series of major events on the bright side, and made me use duplication to temporarily forget him, so that he can secretly engage in things. But he is still too much look down on me. We don't need to care about SHIELD. Although Steve is not a good trick, he is a good fighter and he can solve the problems there. Thank you for reading this story at FictionZone.net. Your support enables us to keep the site running. The most important thing you need to do now is to restrain all mutants. Don't intensify conflicts at this time. Trust me so that there won't be any results you want to see. Besides that, I hope you can help me with one thing. As for me, I'm going to meet someone. I should have gone to see him long ago, Joker. Arkham Asylum. When Batman was pacing the crime in Gotham City nonstop and rushed here with a wound. The entire Arkham Asylum was full of excitement. The most popular customers here are Batman Joker Bane, Penguin Double-Faced Riddler Scarecrow Mister, Frozen Killer Crocodile. The criminals sent by him alone are almost full of aka. The Lunatic Asylum. This time, the great turmoil in Gotham City has brought the Arkham Asylum once again ushered in a big business. I want to see Joker now, Batman said in a deep voice to Quincy Sharp, the dean of the Arkham Asylum. He didn't see Joker from the beginning to the end of the turmoil, but he saw Joker's ghost shadow from it. This makes Batman feel a little worried. I'll make arrangements right away. The long-term cooperation made Quincy Sharp know that he must not provoke Batman at this time, and hurriedly walked down and ordered someone to bring Joker out. Batman soon saw Joker in a ward in the dim light. Joker was like a clay sculpture sitting upright and silent. It's messy outside now, I know this is your conspiracy again. Batman's voice was somewhat suppressed with anger. What the hell do you want, Jokers? Is there only destruction in your crazy head, you? Wait a minute, who are you? Batman, who felt quite wronged, suddenly lifted Joker up, grabbed his green hair and brought it in front of him. He saw a strange face full of panic. No, 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 sir, you can't hurt me. I have the protection of the law. Someone paid me to impersonate Joker here. I just want to make some extra money. The man waved his hand in panic. Asterisk hole, you know what you did. Batman's eyes were full of anger. Just press one of the buttons, it's just a very simple job. It's as simple as going out for a quick meal. In the dim warehouse, Joker put a remote control in front of Director Gordon. With a distorted smile on his pale face, come on. Is it your daughter or her daughters? Following the direction of his fingers, the big old man was lying in a pool of blood, panting heavily and looking crazy at Joker. All his limbs were interrupted and his mouth was sealed. He was facing what happened in front of him. Nothing can be done, your time is running out, Chief. Joker's weird laughter kept tormenting Chief Gordon's nerves. There is 1 minute left. If you haven't made a choice after 1 minute, then both places will explode bang with a bang. You are about to find poor Barbara's body in the ruins. Ha-ha-ha-ha's Batman won't let you go. Director Gordon's eyes fired, and his low voice yelled at Joker. Perhaps, but that's more interesting, isn't it? A Joker looked indifferent. When you stare into the abyss also stares at you. The person who kills the dragon will eventually become the dragon. To be honest, I look forward to that day even more. Oh, that's right. Joker raised an index finger up to the sky, making a sudden realization. I remember Barbara used to be Joe's girlfriend, right? And the Big Daddy's daughter over there. She called, what's the matter, Katie, Mindy? Forget it, who cares, she and Joe are also very close. I want to see how interesting it will happen when he suddenly loses the 2 women in his life thing. No, Joe has a lot of women's. He might not care about the lives of 2 of them. After all, there are too many alternatives, right, hehe. But I think the 2 ladies might be more sad that way, oh. Poor girls. Do you say this because I touched your sadness? A joke. Familiar voice suddenly sounded, and Joker turned around abruptly and saw the person he had been waiting for. Zhou Luo walked out of the darkness calmly, holding an unknown machine part in his hand. Let me see how much time is still missing, go. It's only 17 seconds, it's risky. But my movements are really faster, aren't they? He threw away the parts in his hand. Now the rags in your hand are no longer useful. And the 2 girls are safe. Do you think about how to die, Joker? Flap, pop, pop. Joker applauded passionately. Mutant brought you here. Their abilities are always strange, so I have no way out. He threw away the bomb remote control in his hand. As Zhou Luo said, the bomb has been dismantled and this thing is now useless. With the help of Professor X, Zhou Luo found the location of Joker as quickly as possible, and was then taken by Quicksilver to arrive here in just 10 seconds. Put away your little tricks. Zhou Luo glanced at him coldly. Tell me how you did it. You can do so many things in such a short time. I did it no. No. Just give it a push like this. While talking, he made a push motion. With a weird smile on his face, boom. A deafening explosion came in, and a bright fire burst out the window. Damn it, what did you do? Director Gordon was full of anger. There is a bridge. Hehe, I said it was not what I did. It was just a small deal between a group of people who are eager for revenge and me. Joker's laughter became more and more crazy. When people face life and death choices, yes, finding all the ways to keep yourself alive. Or can you really let the share in your heart stick to it? What do you mean by this? Zhou Luo grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. Stop playing tricks, you have already lost. Then you kill me. Joker's eyes were full of confusion, without a trace of reason, as if the whole person had been swallowed by madness. You wanted to kill me a long time ago, didn't you do it? Let me tell what happened to you outside. 10 rings blew up all the channels leading to the outside world in Gotham City. And the ferry has also been destroyed. In other words, Gotham City has become an island of human nature. Wow, the top wall of the warehouse shattered, and a black figure fell from the sky and slowly stood up. It was Batman. You dropped the virus in Gotham City. Do you want to destroy the entire Gotham City? Batman exuded a strong suffocation and walked towards Joker step by step. Joker dropped the virus throughout the city. Everyone was taken aback when he heard the news. Hehe. Joker, who was held by Zhou Luo in his hand, suddenly smiled sharply. Do you know? Asked Laugh. In 1780, a major plague broke out in Gotham City, which destroyed almost 1/3 of the city. The 5 major families who controlled Gotham City at the time were worried that the same thing would happen again. So they set up a new name, the Last Laugh System. This is a defensive system, a final line of defense, used to resist all forms of biochemical attacks. It is a means to close the city, purify the air and water, and let Gotham recover independently else. When Gotham City faces a terrible disaster, this system will protect Gotham City. It will blow up all entrances and exits, use airships to vaccinate the entire process, and build a food and water warehouse below it to protect people's lives. This program was eventually abandoned, and I later rebuilt it. Batman said slowly. The central hub is in the Wayne Tower. It is on the highest security level. It needs more DNA recognition. Only I can start it. No matter how perfect defense is, it can always block attacks from the outside, but it cannot have a slight impact on internal damage. Joker laughed. When 10 rings dropped poisonous gas on the whole city. You opened this program, but you found out. Looking at Joker, who was laughing forward and backward, Zhou Luo punched him in the stomach, making him almost retchingen. The crazy laughter stopped. You moved your hands and feet on the Last Laugh program. When Batman opened that programs, it seemed to save Gotham City. In fact, he really brought Gotham City closer to the abyss of hell. Yes, Joe, you are such a smart person. Joker praised Zhou Luo exaggeratedly. In return, Zhou Luo punched him in the nose. What else do you want to know? I will tell you all. Oh, do you want to know about Hydras? A team of people attacked the military committee, deliberately released some smoke bombs, and wounded Iron Man Tony Stark. To be honest, isn't the name stupid? He took off his armor and was nothing. All this is enough to make S.H.I.E.L.D. suspicious. There is no way. There are still many smart people in this world. I am not only talking about Nick Fury, but also the Hydra inside S.H.I.E.L.D. Look how great. From a behemoth, another behemoth was born. But it is clear that he has not grown up yet, and will only be a deformed freak in the future. It's just a raid and I don't even have to do it myself. Isn't it great? As he said, he winked at everyone, mutant. Zhou Luo's face became increasingly ugly, bingo. Joker burst into laughter. Mutant has their own way of living, but after all, they are still human, they need to eat. They need those cute tickets, everyone needs it, doesn't it? This is order, oh the order I hate, Joker murmured. Until Zhou Luo punched him again before returning to the subject. A team of death-defeating squads, a team of dead men. A team of poor brainwashed bugs, a team of artificial freaks. Plus, with enough money to clear the way, it's easy to do this. Guess where these freaks come from? Man-made mutant X-weapon, that's right again. I said, buddy, I started to like you a little bit. The two of us are like acting. After Zhou Luo punched him in the face, Joker smiled and clutched his nose. What a terrible thing, mutant attacked the military committee. Definitely this is a surprise for some guys who hate mutant. No, it should be said that it was a surprise from the sky. He almost couldn't wait to submit the application. And even before the approval of the application was approved, he was ready to take the Xavier school, which has been in the bright spot and is as harmless as little Aries. Ask for flowers. It turns out that this is the truth about General Stryker's attack on Xavier school. Zhou Luo closed his eyes, and everything gradually formed in his mind. So, did you pass the information that Magneto received to them? You guessed wrong this time. I couldn't get the information. I just provided an opportunity. The capitalists who wanted to kick Watson into hell all the time couldn't help but do it. Look how wonderful. Watson is really wandering in hell now. Originally, Stryker attacked the Xavier school. Magneto attacked the Watson building. And the conflict between mutant and humans deepened. I thought that mutant should be able to take care of himself. I didn't expect a violent Dark Phoenix appeared. Joker murmured as if right. I am very dissatisfied with something outside my plan. Zhou Luo sneered. You didn't expect Chin's runaways to make Stryker's actions a complete failure. And then Magneto's actions were blocked by Professor X. And even the two mutant leaders who disagree with each other were able to unite again. Yes, it's actually because of you. Joker's mouth split to the root of his ears, and a disgusting and crazy smile appeared. What is your purpose? It is absolutely impossible to just cause riots. Zhou Luo frowned. Also, you absolutely cannot miss me. Zhou Luo has this confidence. If Joker has a complex feeling for Batman, then he is more of a hatred. Zhou Luo snatched Suicide Squad from him, snatched Harley Quinn, and even let him. The injustice has become a chicken that can't make ends meet in an egg. Are you asking me? I might tell you it's just fun, but you will never believe it. Joker turned his head to Batman. Do you think about how to save Gotham City? We have allies. Batman's voice grew colder and colder. Your strategy will not succeed. Very good, Batman. Do you know why I like you so much? It's because no matter what situation you face, you always have premeditated and backup. One more thing. You always have your principle, so you are Batman. Enter. As soon as he finished speaking, Joker suddenly took out a gun and pointed it at Zhou Luo. But you didn't, did you, Zhou? Do you think this little pistol can hurt me? Zhou Luo was full of disdain. Definitely. Joker smiled evilly and shot openly. Bang. The gun rangs. But what everyone did not expect was that the bullet shot out from behind, directly into Joker's heart. This gun turned out to be a special gun that fired backwards. Oh, I won the lotteries. Joker fell to the ground with a smile. No. What do you want to do? Batman was the first to react, and was the first to run towards Joker. Zhou Luo was closest to Joker. When Batman reacted to something wrong, he also reacted and stretched out Joker's clothes. I saw that there was a set of thin instruments on his chest, stained red with blood, and a bright red indicator light flickered frantically. This is the bomb remote connected to his heart. As long as his heart stops beating, the bomb will detonate. Batman recognized the thing at a glance. Hole. Where did you install the bomb, Jane Foster? Joker's voice is insignificant, fortunately. Neither Batman nor Zhou Luo can hear them clearly. At this moment, Zhou Luo remembered the beautiful woman who had just led the hobby of Sichuan cuisine chef in his mind. Do you want to retaliate against me in this way? Zhou Luo's eyes instantly turned red, and the chattering anger ignited in his heart. Don't even think about it. Phoenix Force is condensed in his hands. Phoenix Force is the incarnation of the original cosmic life force and emotional force. It is immortal and fickle. It was born between the chaos of the universe and the beginning of everything. It is a child of the universe. It can be said that Phoenix Force is one of the most incredible forces in this universe. It can be used not only for destruction, but also for creation. Not only can it bring death, but it can also bring life. Zhou Luo reversed his death and focused Phoenix Force into Joker's body. Joker's injuries were quickly recovering, and he was out of danger almost instantly at the same time. Zhou Luo was still using Phoenix Force to infiltrate the remote control to perform program tampering and sabotage. As an SHIELD agent, although he seemed a little unsuccessful, he would never lose the skills that the agent should have. Joker, who was out of danger, laughed wildly again. Suddenly he reached out and flipped it. A short knife appeared in his hand, and the sharp blade pierced Zhou Luo's heart precisely. At such a short distance, even Zhou Luo could not react. Then a scene that shocked him happened. The knife broke through the protection of Phoenix Force covering Zhou Luo's body and penetrated Zhou Luo's body without any hindrance. Heart Joker, who was successful, twisted the handle of the knife in his hand. The person I really want to kill is you. Do you like it, baby? His smile became more and more weird. Crack. The device on Joker's chest was pulled down by Zhou Luo. He finally cracked the remote control and turned it into a mass of scrap iron. Zhou Luo expressionlessly drew the knife from his chest. Your plan has failed, Joker. His face was calm. But there were stormy waves in his heart, and the storm of anger was brewing the impulse to destroy everything. That's really a shame, Joker spread his hands. Well, I surrender, catch me and go back. Whether it's the Arkham Asylum or Bellarive Prison, I might need a good night's sleep. His confident look made the anger in Zhou Luo's heart burn more vigorously. Are you dreaming, Joker? Zhou Luo stretched out a hand to face Joker. You remember what you just said, I am not Batman. He has his principles, but I don't. The fire of the origin of the world gathered in his palm. And when Zhou Luo finished saying this, Phoenix Force broke out from his hand. No. Batman let out a helpless roar before he could stop him. Joker's eyes widened, watching the magnificent and mysterious flame expanding in his pupils. His face released a crazily distorted smile. Joker turned into fly ash in the flames of the Phoenix and did not exist in the world. Batman threw himself into the air, but only caught a handful of fly ash. You killed Joker. Batman's voice was no longer as calm as before, even with a little bit of unspeakable panic. Why can't you kill? Chen Xuan retracted his hand, his voice cold. As if in this short instant something unexpected happened. Batman took a sudden step back, blocking Director Gordon behind him, and said in a deep voice, Zhou Luo, calm down and don't think about anything. Zhou Luo, calm down and don't think about anything. The same words rang from this warehouse at the same moment, but the voice was full of madness and excitement. That is Joker's voice. I guess Batman would say that, hehe. Joker's voice resounded throughout the warehouse, and several people immediately heard it. It was recorded in advance and played at this time. This recording is set to be played after I die. This shows that my plan is likely to succeed, but it may also fail. Well, after all, everything can happen. That's the way it is. Interesting, isn't it? Let me guess who killed me. Is it the most annoying Zhou Luo? Or Batman? Can't it be Director Gordon? Batman let out a weird laugh, as if he was in a very happy mood. Although I hope it is Zhou Luo the most. It is not impossible for others. Well, definitely I don't want you the last, Batman. If it were you, I would be disappointed. I don't want you to become a laughing bat. So let's assume that it's Zhou Luo at the very least. Let a deceased person keep his mood a little more happy. I think you can certainly satisfy this little wish, right? Let's get to the main topic. Just to say something interesting. Do you know the Bacchus factor? This is a very interesting thing, yes, very interesting. It can let you understand the essence of the universe chaos and madness. When they heard the word Bacchus factor, both Zhou Luo and Batman's bodies shook together. At this time, Zhou Luo finally realized the problem.